Good evening, everybody. Welcome. Hey, Dadman Walking 55 on only 1 minute late tonight. Hey, 1 minute after 11 for another late night with Dadman and friends. Godzilla minus one edition. We're going to focus a little bit more on a specific topic tonight. But when we're done with that, and if we, depending on who's in the chat and what kind of party we want to get started, we might do a little bit of other squirreling around and some other things. So without further ado, let me, while I'm working on tweets getting out, let me go ahead and introduce the people for the night that we've got, at least at this point. Starting off with the most important of all of them, it is the great Mrs. Dadman Walking.
Woo-hoo! Hello, everybody.
How are you tonight, my love?
I'm tired. Woo! Godzilla! Woo! Okay.
There you go. All right. Hey, how did you like the background? Did you see my background?
I did see the background. It looks very good. Unfortunately, he's going to be all covered up.
I know. Well, I'm going to put it in the tweet going out in just a second. So hopefully everybody will be able to get to see that really soon when I put the tweet out. Shoot. But hey, with that being said, this tweet is stupid. Anyway, have I told you that?
What, that you're stupid? Oh, no, that the tweet is stupid? Yes.
It does not like copying and pasting very well.
Oh.
Yes, of a previous tweet when you're trying to like be economical and efficient.
Oh, I'm going to say hello to Corey too. Hey, Corey.
Corey. All right. Well, let's go ahead and bring in, let's see. Let me go ahead and bring in the second member of our panelists. The great comic guy himself, the illustrator, the man that knows all kaiju of kaijus, except next to our friend Daisy Blossom. It's the great Hungry. Hey, Hungry.
Hello. It's good to be here. And are we still not worrying about spoilers tonight?
We're not going to worry about spoilers tonight, folks.
It's been out long enough. It's been out long enough.
So,
good.
Mrs. You might find the banner for me real quick on the
spoiler
thing.
I will put it down right now.
Because, the hardest problem I had with this movie was trying to talk about it in any meaningful. You can't, because from the very beginning scene, from the very beginning scene, you say anything, it's too much,
Well, all the plot is interrelated, all of it.
Yeah.
So the thing is, it's like, as the missus would say, you're pulling a thread on a sweater. Pull hard enough, it's all going to come apart.
Yep. Exactly.
Steve's here. Hey, Steve. Good to see you, my friend.
Thor! Yay!
Hey. Well, let's do this now. Let's bring on. He made his debut to a late night stream last night. Has played Fortnite once or twice with us already, and
he hasn't run away.
Yes.
Yay!
Definitely younger than I anticipated. I expected more of a middle-aged, older gentleman, but hey, it's a great voice, very good voice for YouTube and everything. It is the great Your Muslim Uncle. How are you, sir?
Hello, everybody. Hey,
Hello.
Dadman. Hey, Mrs.
Hello.
Awesome to be on a stream with you finally. Hell
yeah.
And the tweet is out, folks.
Movie. So excited about
the tweet is out, so if y'all retweet it and everything else, we appreciate it. Yes, Your Muslim Uncle. I'm glad you're coming on these days. How long have you been on streams a lot over the years, or are you just now starting to branch out, actually coming on air?
I've been on one other stream. I was on one of Culture's member chats. That's the only other stream besides your guys's that I've been on.
Oh, wow. Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, we're also the
it's a real
Fortnite
honor.
training ground. We'd like to train people with Fortnite
That's right.
too, so that's good too. So it's all
Can
all
I
good.
can I say just really quickly? Can I get in because Steve is here? The mighty Thor.
Oh, jeez. There you go. The greeting that follows you everywhere, kind of like my GD up mark on his stream. So, but hey, so let's go ahead, Mrs. Would you start introducing the chat? I got one more place to put the link out. So if you can help me with.
Okay. First off, we have Corey Cochran here. Corey Cochran. I said the name wrong. I thought I said it wrong. Hey, Corey, how are you? I don't usually say your last name. I'm so glad you're here tonight. And we have, this strange person here, your Muslim uncle. I don't know why he's in the chat. But welcome here. Hello, hello. And we have Daddy Steve. Hello, hello. Thank you for coming by, even though you're not much of a Godzilla. Did I say it right?
Gojira.
Gojira. Gojira guy. Thank you for stopping by. Drop a like. And Christmas Maniac Mexico. Let's roll.
Yay, MMM. Yay, yay, yay.
Cheers.
M cubed. Yes. And let's see.
Rolo power.
You want me to take part in that unholy thing? Focus? How dare you? Oh, no. We don't focus on anything around here. Not this late at night.
Especially this is a squirrel stream, but I got to call out Corey for something. You know, he said he would not be in your chat this morning initially, but he managed a way not only to get in and say hi, but actually stay around a bit. So, hey,
yes,
that was well noticed, Corey. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I was surprised. I was, and what was so funny this morning, I was about ready to say, and we're going to miss our most faithful chatter. I don't know what to call him. I said, Corey, and then I looked up and he was in the chat, and I'm like, well, never mind. He's here today.
That's funny.
So, but yes. So, he's still typing here, so we're supposed to, like, kill some time.
Yeah, just we'll give people a chance to get in the chat. How's your day been? I mean,
well, can I say something? I got to say, you know, your Muslim uncle, where I said that your wife should go. That I think that she would like it, even if she's not a big monster fan. And did she?
Okay, so no. Okay, she didn't hate it.
That's okay.
It was kind of just, you know, she was like, yeah, it's pretty much, you know, the way she thought it would be.
Okay.
She did, yeah, she didn't hate it, you know. She did give me the, she gave me the talk. She gave me the talk after. So does this mean we don't ever have to ask me to go to a?
Oh my goodness. There was a lady that went today when we went this evening, and she said she was there for her husband afterwards. I said, well, what did you think? She goes, it wasn't bad.
Oh, dear God.
So I was like happy that she did, you know, at least she didn't say I wasted.
Hey, you got her to go with me, so I appreciate that. I got to see the movie last night and not alone, so that was the best.
There you go. That's awesome.
Good.
Well, let me also say hi to Fletcher Williams who's coming in. Hey, Fletcher Williams, I Suck at Games channel. Hey, good to see you again. Hail panel and chat. Now we will remind people that there's no way. I tried to talk about this movie on a chill stream on Sunday after I saw it. I was babbling incoherently. There's just no way that you can talk about this movie without giving some details and stuff like that. Yes. I'm going to try to not give every single thing that's there necessarily, because that sucks. But but we do have to give more of the background of the environment and stuff in order to be able to talk.
But I think you could talk about the environment of the movie without giving away a lot of spoilers. But that being said, I don't mind giving out spoilers. It's been around long enough.
Yeah, let's see. This movie was actually, let's see. I'm going to take a look at the actual release date. Let's see, was it? Okay, it's actually starting to stream online. Looks like it. Where to watch? Looks like it was. Oh shoot! I picked the wrong one.
Very nice, Corey.
Yeah.
Very, very nice. Do you see that, Mrs.?
1 second. No, I don't. I will look in 1 second. I was changing my screen so that I could. Give me 1 second. I will be there. Oh. Whenever I do something, I miss it. Okay, wait. Let me get back here.
I have a question for your Muslim uncle. Okay, so here in Australia, when we're looking at the first Australians, uncle is a metaphor for anyone who is outside of your family who is still family because they look after you and they care about you. So does that mean your wife? Does that mean your wife is a Muslim auntie for us all in the same thing? Because they use auntie in the same way.
Well, okay, so you actually really got to the heart of why I chose that as a name, because I
Yeah,
grew up
okay.
with uncles, right? Uncles,
Yeah.
quote unquote. And also in Islam, you call someone that's older, auntie or uncle. That's not, even
Right.
if they're not part of your family. And so actually, no, she would be your agnostic auntie, actually.
My god aunt. My god aunt. I got
Yeah.
it. Okay, that's
So
fine.
yeah, she's
Yeah.
an agnostic. So
All right. Well, let me say hello to CLS Studio also, who's come
Hello.
Hey,
through
bro.
here.
nice.
Good to
Nice to
see you
see you.
again. 537. Yeah, we actually have gotten probably 5 to 6 subs in the last 2 days,
Nice.
2-3
Excellent.
days. It's been a
Excellent.
nice. Tom B has come over with some people. I know CLS came in over after or during the Squeaka uh, Christmas stream. So there's a lot of people, a lot of growth lately. Like right now, we got 10 people watching. Earlier today, I played Accidentals for 4 hours. We had up to 13 or 14 people at any time, and it stayed there for a long time. It is amazing how much that game seems to draw people. And hey, it's Sci-Fi Mommy.
Hey, say
Hey,
hi, mommy.
yes. I will tell
Yay!
you though,
Hi,
Sci-Fi Mommy,
sci-fi.
we will probably end up talking some of the details. So be careful. We've
You're
got
gonna
the
get
spoiler.
spoilers, babe. You're gonna get spoilers.
Yeah,
Just
and
warning
it's
you.
oh, hey, look, Maddie's daddy's got something. Maddie's best friend called him daddy the other day. Maddie quickly corrected her and said, "You have to say Uncle Daddy."
No.
I love
Little bit
it.
of,
That's
little
like
bit of,
something my brother would say in Georgia. Uncle
Yeah.
Daddy.
a little bit. My daddy, possession. So, okay, cool. You're used to it from your kids. All right. Well, listen, I will tell you honestly. I will tell you this like this. Even if you get this is to me is one of those. Like I said before you got in, I tried to talk before it, but babbled in incoherent stuff. It's one that you almost have to talk about to be able to communicate it fully and properly. But I tell you, I don't think that this is a movie that, even if you do know details about it, that it will spoil it in terms of ruin the movie and the
True.
experience for you.
I think a lot of the movie is pretty um, standard.
Mm,
Just the way it goes, you kind of know what's going to happen. There might be a few little things that you kind of go, oh, a little surprise, but most of it you go, okay, I know this is going to happen and this is going to happen. You know that, they're going to try this, but this isn't going to work or that's going to,
Mm,
but it's done so well.
mm.
And the cinematography and I mean the way that they did the stuff makes it worth
yeah.
saying,
Yes.
even if you know it all.
Same
Well,
recipe, different cooks, Mrs. The
Yes,
cook makes all the
exactly,
difference.
exactly. It's a pretty it pretty much goes by the formula.
well, let me give
Well, I
some.
mean, to
Well, let me
be
give some of the
honest,
background.
okay.
Let me give some of the background information. Let me
Mm,
get the geek, nerd, accountant, legalese type of formal stuff
mm,
out of the way, and then we can go from there. Okay. Uh, Godzilla Minus One is a 2023 Japanese epic kaiju film directed, written, and with visual effects by Takahashi Yamazaki. Produced by Toho Studios and Robot Communications, distributed by Toho. And it's the 37th film in the Godzilla franchise.
Wow.
Toho's 33rd Godzilla film. Uh, so it stars. I won't even try the names with it.
Are
But
you reading from Wikipedia?
I am
Are
reading
you?
from Wikipedia. Yes, I
Okay,
am
all
doing.
right.
So to
Okay.
credit the source, it is Wikipedia. But hey, it's
Yeah.
a great summary for it, folks. Basically, it was presented at the Toho building on October 18, 2023. It closed the 36th Tokyo International Film Festival on November 1. Toho's subsidiary Toho International later released it in North America on December 1, and it's grossed at the date of this writing, $77 million worldwide against a $15 million budget. $15 million budget, that's all? Wow.
That actually is, according to the director, that's a slightly inflated budget. The film itself was made for less.
But that's, oh my gosh, the
Yeah.
quality
It's
of it.
including marketing.
I oh my God,
Right.
when we look at Wasp, Ant-Man, and anyway, that's another thing for later. But they do say that a black and white version will be released in Japan on January 12th of 2024.
Oh, dude.
That'll be better. That'll even
Hey,
be
buddy
better.
Hepburn.
That'll be
buddy!
so fun.
Now,
That'll be buddy. Hey, buddy.
now, we kind of talked about this before, and we're going to start with this.
Buddy.
Normally I go through the plot. normally, God, hungry.
Sorry, that was Muslim's fault.
No,
That's not my fault.
I'm calling you somebody else now. But hey,
Yeah, oh, okay.
normally a lot of times with these, I actually walk through the order of the movie. I'm not going to do that tonight. What we're going to do?
No, that's good. That's good.
We're actually going to kind of squirrel this a little bit in terms of things that jump out as parts that we want to say. But I do want to start on two specific things here. Okay, let me present them one or two in order, and then we can open it up to where we want to go with this.
Just before you do that, it's important to remember when you were talking from the Wikitardia, as I refer to it. The thing is that yes, there's
it's better than IDUM.
The thing is that there are that many Godzilla films, but there are 33 Japanese Godzilla films, and this one was made for Japan.
Yeah,
but
there you go.
If the rest of the world liked it too, that was fine. But Japan was. Yes, thank you. And if Japan made it and the rest of the world liked it, that's fine. But Japan did not give a damn if the rest of y'all didn't like it. They did not care.
I'm going to say three things. I'm going to, Mrs. You're going to know what a couple of these are. Three points that I want to get out first. Then we can go squirreling. Mrs. Agree with me if you want, or opinion. Well, she does, because we talked about one of the things in the recent Godzilla type movies and any of the monster movies, whether it's Kong or the others. Mrs., what was our common opinion in those movies about the humans?
We're very happy when they get eaten or destroyed by the monsters.
Right?
Yeah. We didn't friggin' care.
We cheer for the monsters. We root for them to win.
Yes, we do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, that's...
Yes, exactly. That's number one.
I hate it when he does that, because I'm thinking, oh shit, I'm not going to know what he's talking about, and I'm supposed to answer intelligently.
Nice one. Oh dear. But even going back to 1954, you feel sorry for Gojira. You know, he just got woken up out of a good 2 million year nap by the H-bomb.
Well, we're talking about some of the...
And irradiated and mutated.
And scarred and angry. It's like, oh man, that was messed up.
Well, here we'll go ahead and go. Okay, that's number one.
Oh my God, Hungry! You just gave me an awesome idea.
Yeah, because I will tell you, she's not kidding. Especially the most recent Godzilla ones, it was like, please eat them. And of course, you got them transferring from North America to China in like 2.5 seconds. But that's point number one, is that we did, normally in a lot of the others, we don't give a crap about the humans. Number two, Mrs., what did you ask me?
Please.
Okay, never mind. Mrs. asked me, I'll preface it. Mrs. asked me the other night when we were talking about, she asked me a direct question, because me and the Mrs. always debate subtitles or dub.
Oh, okay.
Right.
And she's like, in this movie, did it make a difference to you? And I said yes. This is one of those movies that the Japanese language and having to read it without either Western actors or Western speech contributed to the entire environment that was there, which leads into my third point. Mrs., did you want to follow up on that any?
No.
Okay.
No, you said no.
No. Okay. No.
I feel that way about anything that's in a foreign language. Any foreign language, I think you should watch it in the native tongue at least once. If you want at least once of the original watching of it, you should watch in the native tongue and read the subtitles. And then if you feel the desire to have to watch it dubbed, then okay, I guess. But at least you watched it once subtitled.
I love it, because you were like, Mrs. Dadman, and she was like, in subtitles. No.
Yeah.
No. It's like I have all, my mouth keep moving, and and then the English would be no.
Exactly.
Because I'd be saying hell no and double hell no, please stop doing this, don't do this, okay? And then also would say was no.
I mean, the other thing too is when you have subtitles, you actually hear the intonation of the foreign actors, and that is You know what I'm talking about, your Muslim uncle.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about, because the intonation of the dub actors, this was particularly true with the original King Kong versus Godzilla in 1962. There are two versions. And they recut the movie to suit it. And so the movie becomes an entirely different thing. So I need the Japanese versions.
Let me say hello to Admiral Teague, who's come in.
Hey,
Admiral Teague, good to see you. Okay, Mrs.
And also something else with that, also with, when it's, when it's them speaking, the actions and everything, they're all coincide together. Because they're speaking and doing the motions. When you're dubbing, sometimes just the way whatever language they're dubbing to is, it doesn't match. So they're doing something, but the words aren't reflecting that. It might be a little early, it might be a little late, and that's very disconcerting to me.
Santa Megatron, good to see you. Good to see you.
Santa
Megatron. Santa.
Yeah, exactly. They were not sending their best for us because, I mean, like I said, when we want the humans to get destroyed, it's like, and I tell you what, they're like I said, how they ended up on two sides of the world in like no time. It's like my brain goes off onto this, because this leads me to the third point. We can go into the dubs and subs a little bit more, because I do have other movies where that made a difference to me. But the third part is the history nerd. Is it nerd or geek in this case with history hungry?
Nerd.
The history nerd in me loved it for the very first friggin' scene. When you see that plane. Now we've got some technical things with history that could be questioned about how the technical accuracy. But that's splitting hairs. But it's splitting hairs. It's splitting hairs. But this opening scene puts you right into the time period. And so my love of World War II history like sucked right into that immediately. And then it sets the time frame for the years that transpire from when we first see Godzilla to then what he becomes after the nuclear blast and stuff.
Right, and I have a question about when we get to that part about the technicality. I have a specific question because about some of that. So I'm excited about that too.
Well, we'll try to deal with that. But that's what really got me too. But that was the biggest point that I really want to talk about, was because it ultimately put me into the Japanese culture. It put me in the Japanese frame of mind of I'm not, we go back to not having the English language or the English dub and all this stuff. It really just dropped me in there, and you actually see the years transpire from that opening scene. So it really played to my World War II nerdum, and that's one of the things that sucked me in. So that was the three of the big observations that I really had with that really jumped out to me that I wanted to cover. Hungry, I mean, we can cover the technical stuff later, but any thoughts about the historical standpoint, how that opening scene played out for y'all?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So number one, with that opening scene, with the whole situation on Odo Island, that goes back to the first movie, by the way. Odo Island is not real. That was created for Gojira in 1954.
That's what I thought. Okay, that's what I thought.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so Odo is not real. Odo was a confabulation for the sake of the storyline going back, nearly 70 years. But the situation that was interesting was I noticed that the color palette was a little washed out. And one of the things that I've heard from
as an artist would, that's awesome.
Yeah, thank you. But I heard from various people who had survived World War II that they had said by the time the war was coming to the end, or by the time the war had ended, depending on what side they were on, they said my life became gray. And so I thought it was very interesting. And I think this young director had taken that into account. He was respecting his grandparents and what they went through, like I respected my grandparents who actually fought against the Japanese in the Pacific arena. And
can you help for people that may not know, so that what does that life mean being gray? What does that mean? Just so that we're all clear.
The color and joy has gone away. The color and joy has gone away. You're just living mouthful of food to mouthful of food. You're just existing one moment to the next. It doesn't matter anymore. And I thought that was very clear within the first third of the film with the amount that the Japanese people were struggling. Going home and finding out, since we're dealing with spoilers, going home and finding out your parents' home is gone, finding out your parents burned to death, finding out that your neighbor who you
Yeah.
loved all the time, their husband is gone, their child is
And,
gone.
and
This
they hate
happened to
Right.
you.
so many
And
people.
they hate
Yes.
you.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
Right.
they hate you. Nice one, Mrs.
I mean, but they,
Yeah.
I mean, at the beginning, she
Yeah.
hated him.
Well,
Yeah.
we'll talk about
Right.
that in a second. We'll talk about that
Yeah.
Yeah.
exactly why in a second.
Yeah.
But that's a great point because, there's always a soldier come back, but there's a specific thing about this pilot so that we find out
Yes.
about. But I do think that it lays the groundwork for the
Oh,
hero's
you need to
journey
jump
throughout the
right
movie.
in now, Dadman. You need to
Okay.
jump right in. He's a
Okay.
different kind of pilot. You know what I
It,
mean?
Yeah, exactly.
it,
And I will use the word. I don't care because you know what? I've seen
It's
historical channels talk
historical.
about the world
Yes.
where
Exactly.
because he started off. We see the sun as the plane comes in on a beat up landing strip. It was a
Mm.
kamikaze pilot,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
their missions were one way missions,
Yes.
and really, so this plane was supposed to be service those that had difficulties, and they checked it. They didn't see problems with it, and you did see the empathy for some of the ground soldiers. Like, hey, we're here for you. We understand, but
Another young
you know,
person too,
yeah,
right? He was kind of around
Very
his
young.
age.
yeah,
Very
exactly.
young.
So they could relate to each other and all that with having that mission. Uh,
Yep.
that type of thing. So now but then translate to when he comes home. If you study World War II, you have to understand the psychology with what in this case the neighbor viewed him as a failure. He didn't do his
Mm.
job. They lost the war because he didn't do his job, which meant he sacrificed himself. That he completed his mission through that process, and really it's something that haunted him the whole time, really throughout this whole movie,
Mm.
that leads
Yes.
to why the ending was so dramatic and such important for him, and we see
Yes.
why he was so adamant about he's got to do this, he's got to take things so that his war ends.
Can I add something to that point that just kind of occurred to me when you were saying that?
Go ahead.
It was, at that point, you're seeing, with the young man not doing his duty and the woman kind of parroting that same kind of wartime propaganda and
Oh yeah.
mentality. But he was also kind of breaking down our wartime propaganda where we said, oh, they all want to die. They all want to sacrifice their lives.
Right.
That's why we have to use the nuclear bomb. So it was kind of a deep moment, like going across history, talking about these ideas and propagandas that were all dealing and forced on real people. So
Well,
yeah, I thought that was very deep.
yeah, exactly. I had listened to some accounts of pilots who survived, and a lot of them saying, that they didn't always want to do it. Sometimes they were kind of tricked into it or whatever. But that's neither here. It's a lot more deeper
Right.
than what like you say the propaganda is. But from the very first scene, I mean, I could tell from the very first scene what what kind of pilot he was and everything, just and that he couldn't do it, and that was
Yeah.
why he was there. I mean, the
Right.
hands, just the facial expressions, the acting of
Right. Oh my God.
that young man, his hands. And,
Yeah.
Well,
and just
his
the look in his face and just the whole thing, you could tell he was haunted
well
from
his
the very
parents had told
beginning.
him well his parents had told him come back alive.
Come back
Yes.
alive.
And
Which
and
is
then
a
Right.
now
conflict. That's a
the conflict with your
A
order,
big
which is
conflict.
A conflict of authority. That was very common in World War II. A conflict of
Mhm.
authority.
And
And my
and the
grandfather went through that.
and the family, the whole thing with family and how you honor your parents, especially in the
Right.
Japanese culture. Like you said, they
Yes.
had the authority of his orders, and then his family, his parents, who you know you're going to be not a filial son, or or you're going to be. What are you going to do? Because they're both pretty much the same weight. Some people will say, "Oh, the commander has more weight." No, not really. Not
Nope.
really in that case. So it
And
was
you
a
have
very confliction.
And you have the ghosts
What?
of your ancestors, Mrs., as you
Yes.
know, because we've seen the same thing. So you have to worry about what they're thinking too.
Yes.
And there was there's also this aspect of the war where you would do what the emperor told you to do, but that doesn't mean you wanted to do it. You had to pretend that you wanted to do it, but there were a lot of people who did not want to be kamikaze pilots. A lot.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, they would say, this is a great honor. I adore the idea of dying for my country in this way, but that doesn't. That's what they said on the outside. That doesn't mean that's what they felt on the inside.
No, but there are also many accounts too. Like the missus said, there are different accounts. There's also the many times they that you find out from the accounts. They were tricked into it. Drunken up. Different things that were done to reinforce it. But it's but that being said, is because the whole point is. And like we said, there's some issues with the aircraft itself in a way. I don't necessarily know how accurate it is that it would have a 20 millimeter cannon in it. Because a lot of those things were bare bones. They had bombs, they had other things in it, but the whole point. And let me say hello to Saber the Doom Squirrel. How are you tonight?
Great
Good
name.
to see you.
Hello.
Love
That's
it.
a kaiju name. That's
All
a
right.
Doom Squirrel. It's
Great
a kaiju.
to see you, and we're great to see Lemon Pie. I didn't get.
Hello,
I
Citrus.
Lemon Pie.
Hello. Hello.
But basically, here with this, I think it's one of those movies to give it a little bit of room, a little bit of freedom, and not get so wrapped up of, well, is it technically correct
It's
or not?
not a historical movie.
But what it did,
it
wasn't a gross bastardization of a process.
Right.
It might have been a small tweak or something, but what it did is allows the character to develop, because the point you get is this guy was a failure. He failed. In his mind.
In his mind,
and
that's
societally,
correct.
Here's the thing,
and with the cultural norm.
Yes.
Let me finish the point. You're right. No, you're right, because it was like, you remember those things in the U.S. with Vietnam, and there's a lot of hatred to people coming back. You remember propaganda. We see this in this movie, how much the Imperial Japanese government was big about propaganda. Yeah. We see that in this movie. It happened even at the Battle of Midway. After the Battle of Midway, where they lost 4 carriers, they still proclaimed a major victory there. And actually, they sent some of the survivors to the South Pacific, where they ended up not ever surviving the war because they got to fight somewhere else. Others were put into secure areas because they did not want it to come out. So in this case with him, it's like they did have the population. So of course you get that label. These guys were supposed to come back, or were not supposed to come back. They're supposed to do their job and the empire would be safe. So of course we see what she said, you failed. Because this happened because you failed. You didn't do your job. And that's where I'm saying about the failure. And that gets in his mind. And then when we see how he's down to such a low point where the war follows him back, not just, and then we see that not just the war follows him, Godzilla follows him. So
yes.
Any other thoughts on those points? So,
well, first off, to talk about hey, Snorty!
Good to see you. Hey,
Snorty. Hello.
Wonderful. Very good day to you, sir.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, considering I have veterans in my family, I'd like to point out, and I learned this long before George Carlin mentioned it. The original term for what's going on with our main character is shell shock.
Yep,
later on in the Korean War, they changed the name to battle fatigue, and then after that in the 80s we start calling it post-traumatic stress disorder to minimize the actual wear and tear on our people in uniform. But I think shell shock is the most accurate title, and my grandfather agreed with me. He had more than a bit of it. And this guy's got shell shock in spades, and this is one of the best physical and vocal portrayals of hardcore shell shock that I have ever seen after seeing my relatives go through it. And
wow.
And so
I'll relay it to my granddad. My granddad told me about many of the things on Guadalcanal. Some things that are not even in the history books.
Was he a Marine?
He was a Marine. Yeah. Hey,
Wow.
take care, Fletcher Williams. Thanks for coming in. Hope you catch us on the replay though. But thanks for coming in.
Good
to
night,
see you again.
sir.
So there are a ton of
but he
things.
would.
Yeah.
But see, with that, this is just recounting stories to me
Mm.
because he knew my love for World War II and stuff. My grandmother told my parents he started getting nightmares again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was like in the 70s and 80s, and that was like 30, 40 years later. So,
well, my grandfather, you know, he was very respectful to me about, as little boys will be, you know, I loved gun toys, right?
Mhm.
And he would buy them for me up to a certain age. But by the time I was about 9, he said, "Look, I know you want this gun for Christmas. I know you really want it, but I'm going to tell you, because you're old enough now. I'm going to
Mhm.
explain to you what a gun really does to a human body, because I've had to do that. And if you still want a gun for a toy after I tell you that, I will buy it for you. But if you want something else after that, whatever it is, I will buy it for you." And so he told me about what he had to go through when he was in the bamboo jungles of New Guinea, because
Yeah.
my grandfather had to do the Kokoda Trail.
Ooh.
And yeah, it was a rough trot. It was a rough trot.
You
man.
got Owen Stanley Mountains. You got all that crap
Yes.
up there. I mean,
Yes.
I've one of the podcasts that I follow talked about how horrible the terrain was up in New
I
Guinea.
would love for you to drop that in the chat, that specific name of that thing, because I don't know much about that part of the war, and I would love to do some more research on that.
Well, I mean, there are some Australians who were in World War II in the 80s, got a bit bitter, and they said, well, we had a Vietnam War too. It was back in the 1940s.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because of the terrain, the lack of food, the lack of air support, and it was probably one of the hardest things to do in the army for Australia back in World War II, was be in the New Guinea area. And when my grandfather explained to me what he had to do, I did not want to have any associations with guns again, except in terms of art and sculpture, because a lot of them to me are physically very beautiful. I like the designs, I can admire them, but I don't like the purpose. Right. The purpose is different.
I just checked the private chat. That's a good podcast that I do. I'm just going to put it for you.
Right,
you can check that out there later. But all you really do is, if you look up New Guinea, you got some mountains, the bad terrain up there. Port Moresby was a key city. Yeah,
huge trees.
Huge trees. It was impassable in so many, and it's mountains. They're terrain and hillies, and you know, and you fight in the jungle with everything else along the way. So, but yeah, we'll get back. You know, go ahead, Mrs.
Well, it's getting back to the movie. Just watching him, you can see that PTSD, shell shock, just it increases and gets bigger and bigger. And you know, when he says things like, you know, are you the dream, you know, am I dreaming now? You know, he just was totally losing his mind from all of it, because and she would kind of pull him back. Yeah. But he did never, you know, and then he'd be okay and think, okay, everything's good, and then he'd get, you know, whacked upside, you know, like the PTSD, survivor's guilt, you know, guilt for not doing anything, you know, not just survivor's guilt, the guilt of him feeling, you know, he was a coward. He felt like he was a coward.
Yes.
Because he, you know, so the survivor's guilt, the guilt of being a coward, the guilt of other people telling him he's a coward, you know, his parents are dead. You know, all these men, the pictures he have, they're all dead, and he sees their families with them that they'll never see again. Mm-hmm. So that guilt just, you know.
That's a beautiful point, Mrs., because there is a contradiction with shell shock, where there are times you do have the survivor's guilt, almost always, and it also does something to your brain. Where you were expected to die. You were in a moment of nearly dying, but you didn't die. And it affects the hardwiring, the neurological wiring on a cellular level of the brain, to where you kind of want to die. You sort of have ideations, to use a psychological and neurological term. And this guy clearly had very significant ideations, but it doesn't mean that it's going to make sense, because he's feeling guilty that he did not use the machine guns on the plane on Odo Island when Godzilla was smaller to kill it. But we see very clearly guns don't do anything against Gojira.
Right.
He could not, there was no physical way he could have done anything to save those other men on the island. It was impossible. They did not have anything big enough.
Well, see,
I had a question about that. Is that was your takeaway from? I thought the 20 millimeter gun at that size would have actually done damage. So that's interesting that you say that.
But you know,
Damage but not killed. Damage but not
I
killed.
thought that at first before I watched the movie again. I thought that, well, he could have killed him then. But then I went back and I looked, I'm like, well, he was still a pretty big sucker back then.
Yeah.
You know, and I got to wondering, maybe that wouldn't have killed him.
Would
and then
not
he
have.
Just, you know, and then he would have just been dead.
Well,
but in his mind, he didn't real.
Let me point out something that Dadman will understand. You have to look at the size ratio of the shells being used. You got a 20 millimeter shell versus shells coming from
rifles.
No, rifles, but more importantly, tanks. So when Godzilla is proportionally bigger, you have the tanks that are proportionally bigger, and the tanks aren't doing jack crap at all.
No,
so that means that at that size ratio, nothing is going to kill Goji.
Right.
Now, let me say that, of course, on the island, like I believe Teague is about right. He's like 30 feet tall or something like that. I mean, he's
no, much more. That was like 80 feet. 80
okay,
feet.
like 80 feet. But then again, I do like this. I do like what he said, where he was already existed, and after the Bikini Atoll test, we see him again now. He's really huge. So
that was my one problem with the film, that we didn't actually have that in between moment. Okay. And we have him on the island at Odo, and then the next time we see him, he's huge, and then we see him even more huge. We needed more of a narrative progression, but maybe that's me being too Western.
Okay,
I don't know.
Did you have? Well, I mean, there?
Did you notice that was the neutron bomb that really made him mutate? It wasn't. That was the neutron. That was the one that people thought might destroy the world.
Right.
So that was really deep.
Well, Mrs., did you have something else on that?
No, I really did.
I thought you were going to talk.
I don't remember. But I was just the size thing. It was like, okay, he's small. I'm going to use the word small. He's small on Odo Island. Did I say the name right? Odo, whatever. Right. He's small on that island, and then he's all of a sudden humongously big. And I went, oh well. Okay, I guess that explosion is what did it and woke him up and made him huge. But I never even thought about, well, how did he get so big? Because it only was just a couple years, right? From Odo. And he did get significantly better. But, some animals have huge growth spurts. So,
they do, but that was, I mean, going from like 80 feet to 150 feet is a pretty big growth spurt.
Over the size of what the tower.
Yeah.
The tower, and then over the size of high-rise buildings.
Right.
Yeah. Yes, I never thought of that. I just kind of went, oh, okay. Okay, I'm going to suspend my disbelief.
And
I'm actually going to add a poll in here for everybody. Real quick.
Right.
Nice.
How many?
I like how hungry. Oh, sorry.
How many boxes of popcorn from 1/0 being the bottom up to 4 boxes of popcorn as the ultimate best would you rate this movie with? 4, 3, 2, or 1/0? And the poll is there. Vote early, folks. And I will say, to make a little levity here too, Star Poopa says, "Losers scare me, especially Mark Zuckerberg."
That's funny.
So 4 is the highest. 4 is the highest, right?
4 is the highest, yes. And the panel, y'all keep it down. This is more for the chat at this point. We'll hit it on the way out. Normally, I don't do it on movie reviews. We don't normally do it on movie reviews, but I want to see what the people in the chat have done, and we'll come back and do it when we wrap up.
Gotcha.
Well, I mean, there's an interesting thing about the size differential in this, and I don't know.
Well, yeah, can I jump in? I want to say
that
I really default to you. Because when you described it, I was like, you're an artist. So you were picking up things that I'm not seeing about what the scale is in the moment where things are being 3-dimensional. There's action, but I feel like your mind is trained on that. So I was like, oh, dude, you really nailed it.
Well, thank you. Thank you. And also, there's another aspect of the change, which is if you look at the texture of the scales of the hide of Gojira
Mhm.
when he shows up at Odo Island and then he attacks Ginza, those scales are very different. And by the time we get to the end of the film, before they start trying to really take him out, the scales are different again. He has been
Right.
mutating throughout the entire movie.
I'm going to jump. I need to jump in here real quick. So, Admiral Teague has said something that I've said. Um, I don't think this movie will be out much longer in American theaters, but it is definitely worth seeing and definitely on the big screen if you can at all possible.
It's not
Heck
even.
yeah.
It's not even in my. It's not even in my town.
No,
I look a week ahead. It's not
I
even
know.
here a week ahead.
Yeah,
I don't
know,
think they're
but
going to show it here.
well, I'm just letting everybody know if you can do it if you can.
But this actually brings up a really important point. I had to look at a bad Blackbeard's pirate booty, if you know what I mean. And
I got a nice
you know what I mean. You know what I mean. Your Muslim uncle. And if a movie is beautiful and sublime with that bad cut, you know, that bad version, that means the movie is twice as good as it really is.
Right.
To everybody else, because you are enraptured in watching this film, even though the sound is bad, even though you're barely being able to read the subtitles and you can't take your eyes away. That means somebody made a really good movie.
Yeah.
So, Hungry, you think that's a cultural thing? Like, because you guys still have some, cultural anger at Japan, that's why they're not showing it as many places there, or is that just money?
Both. In my town, we still do have some surviving World War II veterans. They're very rare now. It's just age. But a lot. We do not have in my town, aside from me and about 5 other people, much interest in things outside of American, British, or Australian culture, and that's a sad thing. But the attitude here is we're not going to make any money off the movie anyway. Why don't you just go watch it on the internet? And I understand that. Totally. The place where I live has got less than 110,000 people in it, less, and so by American standards, that's it's still a town. We call ourselves a city, but it's really a town. And that's the attitude. But the other thing too is that a lot of people still, a lot of us grew up with memories of what happened to us by the Japanese, and you either get past that or you don't. And I mean, atrocities have been committed by every government for at least 200 years, arguably 300 years. And so you just are you going to like a movie or not? I mean, there are things, and one of my favorite science fiction films actually comes from modern Russia. And I mean, considering what happened to my grandparents because of Russia, my father's family, okay, I don't like the Russia in the 1950s. I don't.
Were they
but
Jewish?
That's different
is
now.
that what you're alluding to?
No, they weren't. They just had to leave. No, they weren't. They were Catholic.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and there's a lot of that happens because I know I studied World War II, like when I was a kid in the 70s and 80s. Yeah, I felt a lot that way. But, time changes, time heals.
Right.
And things you have to get to it because you can't always, there is stuff and there are new people, new things. Because I tell you what, and I want to get it back to the movie here a little bit more.
Thanks.
Because what I think we can wrap it up with this context and and I think the missus can help me with this one here is that one of my observations, a lot of times in one of our modern movies is we get a lot of politics in it, a lot of commentary about government, this, that, and the other. But honestly, this one really was heavy against the Japanese imperial government at the time. I mean, it really surprised me how they were really so upfront and forthright about it. It was really,
but
did you see Shin Godzilla, Dadman? Did you see Shin Godzilla?
I didn't, but Mrs. Go ahead.
I was talking to my oldest about that, and he said that there is, I hope I get this right.
Mm.
It is an it's when you're kind of criticizing the people and and not necessarily the politics.
Mm.
It was more like a societal
Mm-hmm.
criticism, even though it was about, the tanks, and the scientist is kind of like was given a little bit more leeway because
Mm-hmm.
he was a scientist, um, but it's a lot more that it's acceptable for certain criticisms in Japanese movies, and there's some that are not acceptable. You don't
Right.
criticize
Right.
the current government, you don't
Mm.
criticize current politics, you don't do any of that, but it's okay, like, for some of the past, it's acceptable. So it's not as
Good point.
far-fetched to have
Mm-hmm.
that in this movie as we thinking that you can't criticize anything in Japan or anything like that.
Yeah.
That's not the case,
No.
No.
Right.
And I'm
in movies.
and very
So
clearly, I am not saying it did not have a political agenda. Or no, I'm not saying that. What I said was the criticism of the Japanese imperial government at the time.
Mm.
This was
Yes.
a movie that it did not bring in modern themes. It kept in that period. You're seeing the rank and
actually,
file.
it criticized the military.
Well,
Well,
I mean,
and the
yeah,
It
government,
didn't it
criticize
didn't
politicians,
and the
which is
government.
political,
But see, back
but
then
not
the
modern
military.
political.
But your
Yeah.
Muslim uncle back then the military was the government.
Right, right. It was
Then
Imperial
after
Japan,
World War
and yeah,
II, it
exactly.
was the U.S. led oversight government. But still, we see the discussion
Right.
in here, they were still complaining about that mindset in Japan had not changed since the previous government. They were still busy trying to bury everything. Even the Japanese officials, they wanted to ignore things. So act like nothing was
Right.
there. They did not want to have bad news. See, like I was actually surprised that after the boat happened, that the four guys didn't get put in isolation and not allowed to walk. They were just told, just don't talk about it. So
Look,
that
but then again, Dadman, you haven't seen. See, this is a progression of 33 movies from Japan.
mhm,
How many of the Japanese Godzilla movies have you seen?
only bits and pieces. Only bits and
Okay, so
pieces.
you've never watched an entire Godzilla film from 1954 onward until this one. Am I correct?
Right? Yes.
Okay. All right. Let me tell you, there are a lot of jokes and there are a lot of bit pieces. There's a lot of things looking at how the military handle things. They don't handle it right. There in the second Godzilla film, which goes back to 1955, almost directly after the first one, we have a guy in a plane at the end of the movie who's helping make sure Godzilla is put down. This is the films refer back to themselves, even more so than Marvel movies refer back to themselves. So there are some things in this movie that seem like a choice, but they could not get around if they were being respectful to the Gojira modern myth. They could not get away from it. And there is an aspect of rising above or rising against the politics of the people in the uniforms versus the people themselves. There's the public politics, and then there are
Right.
the few guys, the 25 guys in the suits at the top of the pyramid who make the decisions. And in Japan, that is very much the case, and in Australia, that is very much
Yeah.
the case.
And CLS Studio, I understand, but you're seeing the movie Friday. Hey, that's why we wanted to be honest, because I tried to talk about this once, and it's really hard to talk about it with any.
Oh, you were getting a
effectiveness.
migraine trying to avoid the spoilers.
I was. So, but I will say honestly, I do think this is a movie though that if you don't, it's even if you hear spoilers, I don't think it ruins it for you. But hey, that's everybody's. I understand not wanting to. So,
Right.
absolutely. Good night and Godspeed to you too. Love having you around, CLS.
Good night, CLS. But
Exactly. So
that
you
actually
will love
brings
it,
up
though.
one problem. This brings up one problem
But-
because you don't want to go back and forth with the war aspect of it too much, because that is part of the film, but it's not the entirety of the film.
It's hardly any of the film, really.
No,
Well, that can be argued, but the situation is we do have to address an elephant in the room, and
okay.
that is the screen time of Godzilla and the amount of attacks on humanity that
Yeah.
we actually see. So in
Right.
Shin Gojira, which was the Japanese Godzilla film before this, with
I own
there,
that one.
yeah, it's a
Well, I
beautiful
want to. I
movie.
want to
Yeah.
back. I want to back. I want to get. We'll talk to that because that is another thing we need to talk about because I know the missus talked about it. But I
You
just
gotta
want to
buck
make.
up your ass for
Dad
this
man,
other
you
stuff right
you
now.
you roped that Australian in, okay?
No, to me,
That's an in joke. You
yeah.
don't get that,
No,
Dad man. That's an in joke because ropeable is an actual slang term here.
oh, it
So
is.
yeah,
Oh, okay. I have no clue. But
nice one,
but I just want
nice
to make
one,
sure.
Uncle.
I just want to make sure my point did not get missed or blurred because really,
No, it
when
wasn't.
was really the fact that this movie took me off guard a little bit because
Mm.
Western audiences, Western movies, as a Western viewer, so many times we end up having to, oh, here's a political business, here's whatever. But this was true. This truly to me came off as well surprisingly blunt and honest because really what we saw was flat out the rank and file people that were tired of being lied to and knew and expected, and they've been made coarse. They've been made sarcastic from, well, here we go again. This is what they do again, and stuff like that.
Right. Yeah,
Because
that
that's
was
the rank and file
really
population, and that's the part that surprised me that they were so blunt honest with it, though.
and it came through really like, yeah, that's why like what you guys were saying, some of the spoiler doesn't matter because it was their
Mm.
acting and those
Yes.
individual scenes and moments that really, yeah, you
Uh,
felt it.
Yeah.
Oh, when they were trying to shelter poor little Akiko from the loss, like she's lost her family. Poor little Akiko, she's been adopted by Noriko, and then they're trying to form the family together, but the shell shock is not allowing Shimishaka to actually engage because that is a part of shell shock. You're pulling back from people. That is clinically a symptom in the DSM-2, DSM-3, DSM-4, DSM-5. That has not changed from 1975. That people who suffer shell shock pull back. And
Well,
so I would say
well,
there are a lot of family politics in this, even
see,
if there aren't professional
but
politics.
there are the politics in it with the government, and that's the point that
Yeah.
I really am sticking with because they were look like the government turned its back on them. They had
I
to
know.
turn it over to private citizens to here you get 4 destroyers and fix it yourself. We're gonna la. Now I do we're gonna ignore it, but I like how they juxtapose the time period also with the Cold War because the U.S. was not
Yes.
going to do anything.
Right.
They
Yeah.
had all that, because we were so afraid of the Soviets, which was a thing with that. But then again, still, even after the war and others, the Japanese local government was still doing the same thing. They did not want to admit that there's a problem, and they would. Like I said, I was surprised that people didn't get banned to put a, where nobody could find them after that first incident.
Yeah,
But
totally. Yeah.
but and that's
Like
that's
in,
the
like
that's the
in
point with
UFO stuff here.
yeah. Well, that's the point with the politics that I think with here that it was just to me dealt with so open and honestly that it was but it was done in a real way, and it was like
A raw manner.
and it was also something we can verify with actual history
Yeah.
at the
But
time.
that's your thing. That's
Yeah.
your thing. See, that's your perspective of the film because that is your big deal in life. That's your nerd, not geek. That's your nerd in you. And I say that
Exactly.
with
So,
the utmost respect. Now with me, I'm looking at things from a far more cultural perspective
right.
versus a military perspective and political perspective. So I look at
Yeah.
things from the family point of view. I look at sorry, you want to jump in. Go ahead.
Oh, Mrs. I wanted to make sure the Mrs. gets a little bit more time because she's going to have to probably leave in a few minutes. Mrs., let you. Any other thoughts or points that you wanted to make? Anything that jumped out at you with this movie?
Well, I think. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we
Yeah.
can hear you.
Um, I think a lot of the movie was. I think the backdrop was the war, but then after it, it was not the war per se. Of course, there was military stuff still in it because the
Yes.
military had to go and do that, but not the war. The PTSD, the after effects of it. How did it affect the people? How did it affect the families.
Right.
How the because of all the war, that family would not have gotten together. I mean, she wouldn't have hidden in his house, um, with
Right.
the baby and all. None of that would have happened if none of this happened.
Mm-hmm.
So I think when I say that the war is second, it's I consider it like a backdrop. Yes, it was
Mm.
important, but it's not the main focus of the movie. To me, the main focus of the movie is the relationships of all these people
Mm-hmm.
and how they have to deal with all their crap that they had through the war. I mean, the I can't remember her name, Norika, Noriki,
Noriko.
Nor Noriko. I'm
Noriko.
so bad with names. I know
It's
it's the
okay.
end name. Um, she has to deal with herself. She said, "I watched my parents burn while they're
Mm.
telling me you must survive, you must live." And she says, "And I will do that at any cost." You can't tell
Right.
me that doesn't mess with your brain. You
Right.
know? So, I mean, she's dealing with her issues. Akiko, little thing, even though a baby is still affected with it because doesn't have, her real parents, has,
Yes.
someone who she calls mom, but the dad's like, "I'm not your dad. Don't call me dad," because he can't form that
Yes.
bond because he's not,
Because he's sure
because
he's going to die later.
he yes,
Yes.
he just does not know if he's gonna be there,
Yeah.
whether he does it himself or through some
Right.
other way, or is this
His
all a
war was
dream?
still.
Or is this all just a dream? He
Mhm.
just was all, so I look at it more like it's the family relationships, the relationships of the
Mm.
community, and the other people that were in the military. The guys on the boat.
Right.
They were in the war, except for the one young man and his attitude at that thing. He says, "Man, I wish the war was a little longer so I could get there." And how he just wanted to pummel him. He said, "How dare you say that?" And that's
Mm.
that um, naivety and stupidity of youth that they just kind of
But
blurt stuff.
loyalty of youth,
Right.
missus. Loyalty,
No,
because he
no.
comes back later. He comes
Oh
back
yeah, yeah.
later with a
No,
tugboat fleet.
yeah, no, no, no. I'm talking about that one thing
Oh,
that
that one scene. Yes.
that one
Yes.
scene. Yes, because he
Right.
was like, "Wow, it's a shame I couldn't go to the war." He said, No, you don't want that. You don't want to
Yeah.
go there.
Right. That
And
was again the propaganda of like the glory and the impetuous, and being
But
youthful.
But
yeah,
a lot of
Like
but
you're
a lot
saying.
but a lot of times when there's war and there's
the,
patriotism, you kind of get wrapped
no,
up in that and everything.
yeah,
Exactly.
you
So,
do.
Yeah.
and it's
Exactly.
not, not necessarily the propaganda. You're just like, I'm going to be here for my country and blah, blah, blah. And I wish, and when you can't or whatever
That is the
reason, then it's like,
propaganda. Yeah.
Excellent point.
man,
But see,
so
Excellent.
there's that, but how they all were affected by the war, whether they went or not,
well,
you
see,
know.
that reminds me of what Sci-Fi Mommy had said earlier that
Mm.
about trying to talk to an uncle or a granddad about it, uh, but he refused to talk about it. And that kind of reminded me of these guys. They're like, "Hey, you don't want to be this," because
Mhm.
it's not even worth talking about. And he's out there wanting to do his part, but they're like, "No, you don't. You just don't."
And I don't think it's like it's not even like it's not worth talking about. They
Mm.
don't want to relive it.
Right.
Because when you
Right.
talk about anything you talk about, you breathe life into it again.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
And
it's more than that
and
with shell shock, missus. If you talk about something that's horrible that you had to do in wartime,
You have to admit
the
it to
brain
yourself.
the brain neurologically will bring back that memory fresh and full. You will relive it. There's no way around it. And that's
yeah.
why people wake up screaming in the night after things they had to do during wartime because they were ordered to.
Mhm.
And it's
Yeah. My
horrible.
my mom my mom had a boyfriend, and eventually they broke up. But he was also a good friend. He helped raise me as a child,
Mm.
and he was a door machine gunner in Vietnam. And I
Mm.
was told, when we moved into the house, like when he's sleeping, you do not bother him. He could hurt you. Like you're
Yes.
Right.
waking up, and he had that kind of, yeah. He was dealing with that his whole life.
Mhm.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So I look at it more as the war was a backdrop, and they all fought their war the ways that they did. I mean,
Yes.
even Noriko,
Yeah.
Norkiro,
Noriko. Noriko.
Noriko.
Noriko.
I mean, she had her own war she was battling.
Yes.
Because here she was with this person who would not talk to her, would not, because he was dealing with his demons, and so she's living as, she's not
Hand
a
to
man.
mouth.
Yeah, and
Hand to mouth.
but she's not, I
There
think she
was
wanted to marry him. I
this.
think she loved him, but
Mhm.
he would not ever like she said, you won't let me in. So she was
Mm.
fighting her own battles,
Hey, he
about
wanted
what
to.
And
He
Teague, let me go to Admiral Teague's comment right here, because I think like the history comes in here, like you said, Mrs. That everybody's fighting a battle. If you know anything about Japan, after the fire bombings of Japan did a lot more damage than any of the
Correct.
atomic bombs.
I was going to say that was
what we
yes.
saw was that, and like Teague's point here is
Mm.
they had the emphasis was on life and surviving. And Mrs., I think to your point is they all, whether the citizens or the people that fought, they were all fighting a war.
Right, and they all dealt, like I say, they were in the war. Their places got firebombed. That you can't be more in the battle than that. And being civilians and not being, I don't know
Well,
if you
yeah,
could
I was
ever
going to say that
train
was
for it, but they're not even trained for it, and they're having to deal with all this stuff. And and they're dealing with survivor's guilt also, and they're dealing with watching people die also, even if it wasn't by their hands, they're watching loved ones die. And so they're having to deal with all that along with everyone else, and along with all the people coming home from war that are dealing with their issues, and they're trying to keep life together, and everybody's, and it's just, and I think it just was done so well in this movie on every character in their different walks in life, and their pain and their suffering and their growth throughout the movie. Like I say, the young man that wanted to go to war, but when they were going out to destroy Godzilla, he says, "No, you're not going." And the guy, as he's walking away, says, "You're our future." But he
Yeah.
went. But he went, and then and then he's like, "Here are the useless ones coming to
Yeah.
help you." And he went, and they saved the day. Kind of.
Exactly.
So,
And it's good point with that,
So,
because
and they all
everybody's
grew,
fighting.
and they all grew. I still don't know how Noriko survived that blast.
Hey, Thomas.
I still don't know how, but I will accept it.
Feel free to chat, Thomas, if you want to in the chat. We're saying there's spoilers tonight. Obviously, we are. Good to see you. Yeah, we got your Muslim uncle with us, Hungry Boy, and Mrs. with me tonight. Good to see you. Feel free to say what you want to with that. There was one other. I agree that blast. Yeah.
Well, Muslim asked me something in the private chat, and about as a mom, like becoming a reluctant stepmom or whatever. That whole Noriko, not even being a mother, and took this child in, just was wow, because and I'm going to say it was a girl on top of it,
right.
and then why bother? It's just a girl. I don't say that flippantly, if you guys understand what I mean. A lot of times in the but she took that child in and was doing the best she could, and I just thought that was as a mom, I think a mom would naturally do that. And when that lady that was so angry at him, she said, "Here, this is not for you, this is for the kid. I can't believe I just lost all my prized rice," but she said it all grumpily, but she would probably give her left arm for that baby.
And she is an ongoing character throughout the film. She is the godmother, effectively. The godmother.
Yes. And the growth you see and the change you see in her. I equate the scene when he first comes back and she hits him because she's angry at him, because how dare you survive? And then at the end, she hits him. How dare you go try to kill yourself? How dare you? How dare you? I'm going full, I loved it. Those little things like that, I just loved in the movie. And when at the end, when Godzilla's ramping up to destroy everyone, and the film, no silence.
Yes.
Dead silence.
Yes.
I literally covered my mouth.
That's in my notes.
Because I didn't want to say anything, because I was afraid. I was like, and I didn't want to make any noise, so I'm covering my mouth during that part because this was the second time we've seen it, so I kind of knew it was going to go on, but I still was like covering my mouth, and then when when the sound came back, it was like, oh, just oh my gosh, because then you thought that I don't want to say, but you thought that something happened that kind of was playing up to the whole movie, and then it didn't happen. But you're just kind of like, oh my gosh. I mean, and this was my second time watching it, and I still was like, oh my gosh.
We had that problem with the I Am Legend where that woman was laughing in that really tense scene. I mean, any sound can destroy a silent moment, and that's nice that you did that.
But that cinematography was just amazing.
Well, let me reset.
And that's another good point that we bringing up why the spoilers don't matter as much, because it's like all of those things are what make this movie so great.
Exactly.
Good point, your Muslim uncle. Good point.
Definitely a movie you can watch more than once and still really enjoy as much.
Oh yeah, I'm about to own that in 4K immediately when it comes out.
So Thomas, let me reset a few things here. Let me reset a few things because I want to update some things. And Thomas, that's probably a lot of people's number one new was that I want. There's a couple points I want to get into here that Teague has made that I think are very, very good points.
He got one thing wrong, though. He got one thing wrong, and I'll have to address that.
Okay, well, we'll address it at the right time. But I want to remind everybody, we got 15 likes. Make sure you've hit that like 10 watching now on YouTube.
Oh, gosh, I guess
follow us on the YouTube. Follow us on Twitch.
Stay with us, Mrs.
But our poll, vote, we got 11 votes in the poll. How many boxes of popcorn would you rate this movie with? 4 is leading 73%, 3 at 9%, 2 at 9%, and 1 at 1 or 0 has 9%. Listen, and I'm going to tell you right now, right here, right now, as God is my witness, differing opinions are valued as long as they're respectful and all on this channel. If you voted 1 or 0, I would like to know why. Honestly, tell us the criticisms, because we're not an echo chamber. We want opinion. Differing opinions are appreciated, and that's how we learn from things. I am not an echo chamber. This channel, as long as, like I said, as long as you're respectful, not doing things that cross lines and stuff, you may hate this movie. I'm one that likes to understand why people think different things.
I would,
but there's no pressure. There's no pressure. You don't have to or anything else. But feel free. I mean, if you voted it, hey, we'd like to hear people that disagrray too. So,
Dadman, can I comment on one comment real quickly about
before Mr. Angel? Hey, Mr. Angel.
Hello, Mr. Angel. Hello.
About this comment right here saying the Japanese diversity was such a classic Godzilla moment.
That's one of the ones I had flagged. Yes.
I am going to tell you, I worked in television. I worked around reporters. It's just not Japanese news teams. They're all fucking idiots. Yes. They all do that. We had a hurricane and we had a flooded river. Now, flooded river. We had a news reporter standing in the middle of the flooded river with electrical equipment talking about the flooded river.
I want a clip of that quote, by the way.
They're all idiots. So I know that might be an iconic thing in the Godzillas, but that's just all news teams. I'm telling you.
Mrs. I have to tell you, in the original Japanese version, I think it was cut out in the American version. I'm not sure. But that was actually in the first Godzilla film. Godzilla takes out a dumbass news team who were just standing there as Goji. I'm going to call him Goji out of affection for the rest of this stream. Right. He's coming towards them. They know they're going to die, but their narcissism is just making them stay there and say to the Japanese public what's happening.
Hungry. They don't think they're going to die because they are news people and they are reporting. Believe me, I know these people firsthand. They think they are invincible and they can sit here and go, and the bullets are flying all around us and walking right in the middle of a gang war and think it's fine to go interview someone that's shooting a gun.
So they're not really the kamikaze pilots? They just think they're invincible?
They just think they're invincible. So, I mean, yes, that might be an iconic scene in the Godzilla movies. And I'm just saying, I just had to say that, no, it's... They're
It's
all
just
idiots everywhere.
journalists. It's just TV journalists.
Yes,
Okay,
it
oh,
is.
got
So
Yes,
good.
it is. But I love that
So
scene
good.
when they're going, and we can see how big his face is, and I'm thinking, you guys are idiots. I'd be running.
Oh. Well,
Well,
I mean,
there was
I have to be fair. That was a really, and there were a lot of callbacks to
Yeah,
the original black and white 1950s first two Godzilla films
yeah.
in this movie, and I
can
do
you
really appreciate
can
that.
you let me go for one more comment that Teague has picked up on that has hit me big, and we'll set that up because you're right. You're right. Even the way it was shot, the way they ran down the streets. I mean, I was just all so similar. I didn't watch it all fully, but I've seen enough clips. But this to me was one of the biggest right here. I knew I heard this music from somewhere before.
Mm-hmm.
That is absolutely correct. In fact, that was a plan by the director to speak with the choreographer to use the original music that goes back to the 50s and 60s, particularly in
Ba-na-na-na.
yeah. Da 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 da. I know it by heart ever since I was 2. But no, seriously, I know that
Yeah.
music by heart, and
Yeah.
that is the classic Godzilla theme by the original Godzilla orchestral director and composer, and he wanted to honor him because it was said not on Wikitardia but on other sources
Yeah.
that you cannot do better than the best music for the piece.
Well,
and
let
if that
me-
was already created, then it was already created.
Well, let me say a couple things real quick. Appion's come in. Hey, Appion. The
Appy!
news team was committed to giving the news. They were like the band playing music on the Titanic.
No,
The
Appy.
Titanic.
Harsh but true. Nice.
Santa Megatron says people are stupid. Just look at TikTok. And let me say hello to.
Hey, we lost
Shinotsky.
Uncle.
Oh no,
Where's
he'll
Uncle?
come back. He'll come back. But let's say hello to Shinotsky. Hello, I've not seen you here before, but hopefully
That's
you
a
enjoy
good
your
name.
stay.
I like that.
Everybody, make sure you hit that like button on the YouTube side. Vote in our poll. Subscribe. We love subscribers. We're doing really, really good these days. Yeah, your Muslim uncle disappeared. Hopefully, he'll be back in just a second.
Back. But Mr. Angel, you will actually adore this film, but you're going to adore it for reasons that we talked about privately, and you're going to have a different take on this film than anybody else, Mr. A.
Oh,
but you're
gosh.
going to be chuckling. You're going to be chuckling, and sometimes you're going to be saying, "Oh no, I know this guy.
Yeah,
I've been friends with this guy."
That's the one that music was so powerful. And folks, that's
Yes.
when Teague said earlier about try to watch it in the theater if you can. That's
No.
serious because of the music. Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
Now, I wanted to ask Hungry because I haven't. I love what Santa Megatron said. Muslim Uncle was attacked by Godzilla. No, come back, come back.
Come back, you Muslim uncle. Come back.
Okay, the end of the movie.
Yes.
You know, when they show her neck.
Yes.
Now, this movie was before the ones that were made. He's back. Were
Hello.
made before.
Sorry about that.
They're
Technical
play-
difficulties.
They were placed before the other movies, right, in the timeline. Correct? So this is because
yes, but the films were made afterwards. But yes, this is actually going back before the original Godzilla film, which is set in 1954.
okay,
Yeah.
okay, that's what because with her mark
Yes.
on there. I was wondering, oh, well, they're just setting it up for a sequel. And my oldest said,
Yes.
well, this is like a prequel to the original movies. So
Yes,
they might
yes.
just be, I think they're going to do I hope they do a sequel. But
it makes sense
but
to
what
do a
he said was
prequel.
that it's just, they don't have to do a prequel. But I
No,
hope they do.
no,
it makes sense to do the
technically-
prequel based on
Yes.
the time frame because, as I understand it, you
Yeah.
and I talked about this.
Yeah.
The Godzilla movies were like early 50s, but this goes
Yeah.
back to the end of World War II.
Yeah.
So in a sense,
this is
they
late
don't-
40s. This
So
is
in a
late
sense-
40s.
So they can either do a movie in between the two, or just do a remake. I hate using the word remake, but of the
A re-envisioning. A re-envisioning.
And I want to say what I really liked. I liked the fact that they didn't. I mean, Godzilla looked like Godzilla.
Yes.
It and it kind of, and I will say that sometimes it kind of looked, and I'm not meaning this in a bad way, but it
Mm.
kind of looked like something that was made in the 1950s.
Mm-hmm.
Because you know what I'm saying? Because
Yes, I
even though,
do.
and I'm going, I love that. I love the fact that they didn't, clean it up in a sense. They
Well,
kept it. They kept the design, which to me was kind of clunky. And there was
yes.
sometimes when it showed him walking, I said, I can envision somebody being somebody in a big suit.
Yes.
And I love that. I love that because it paid homage to it of the original creation.
Absolutely, Mrs. And I've told you you're an artist on numerous occasions.
Thank you.
And an artist will spot that. There have been so many variations on the Goji suits. And they vary actually because of the size and the weight of the actor in the suits.
Mm.
So sometimes the thighs get a bit bigger, sometimes they get a bit smaller. And then when we move to CGI, things change entirely. But, more than 20 of the Godzilla films, are actually men in suits. And you have to take that into account. And therefore you look at what you're talking about right now with the physiological configurations of Godzilla. I did like it. It's not my favorite. All right. It's not my favorite. That doesn't mean I don't love the film. But you need to take into account what is physically necessary. And in the old Godzilla films, the physical necessity was the guy in the suit. And in the current Godzilla films, the physical necessity is what does Godzilla do and how much money do we have for the CGI budget? No,
Yeah.
I'm not joking.
Yeah.
I'm not
No,
joking.
I know.
Okay, let's Thomas has put something out here,
Mm.
something that he did not like. He will say that while he liked the movie, really liked it, felt there should have been more or some explanation as to if this movie was a sequel or
I agree.
prequel or standalone to other films.
I do agree, but it's not my place to say, but I do agree. And I do want to bring up one thing that Admiral Teague said that was quasi inaccurate. Actually, in terms of Godzilla screen time, this one is low in terms of the amount of times that Godzilla is on screen.
I counted
for
four
the
different
entire...
times. I counted four.
No, it's not the amount. It's the amount of screen minutes. Minutes. And the amount of attacks on a city, on any city. So in the original Godzilla film, we have a greater impression of Godzilla walking through and destroying things. And if you actually look at the second Godzilla film, which is Godzilla Raids Again, which brings in the second Toho monster, Anguirus, or Anguirus, depending on your pronunciation, there's more Godzilla on screen. And then you look at the ones in the 70s, there's way more Godzilla on the screen than on in this film. And that is something important to take into account, because if you're a Goji fan, that's going to bug you. And I have to admit, that is one of the few aspects of this film that bugged me.
Okay, what about Appion's question? Is -1 supposed to be a remake of the original? And let me say hello to Canadian Spider-Man. Hey,
hello.
Good to see you, friends.
Hey, Spidey! It is a prequel, not a remake. It's a prequel. Prequel. Because Appion, this one is set in the late 40s. Gojira takes place in 1954. So they're messing with the timeline a little bit, because in the original film, that's supposed to be the first time Gojira hits Japan, aside from being at Odo.
But this is then if that's the truth, then this is a case where you can mess with a timeline or time frame and do it with respect to the lore and to everything and do it right.
Kind of.
Okay.
Yes. But you haven't seen any.
No, I'm presupposing what you're saying, that this is in line. I mean, we have all the music and all the act, all the things that looks like it's a true typical kaiju Godzilla film, but it actually seems to be. It shows that you can do something with the time frame. They're just going to back up a few steps.
Can I put this in Star Wars terms for you?
Let me say hi to Wes Cagle first, but yes, go ahead.
You know what I'm talking about. You're Muslim.
Everybody hit that like button, vote in our poll, subscribe if you haven't. Make sure you're subscribed. Let's get to 550 really soon. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. You can break the rules while following the rules in Star Wars, and you know what I mean.
Okay, yeah.
And you can do that with Gojira as well.
Mhm.
Or you can totally break the rules, or you can stick to the rules so much that the story suffers. And the missus knows what I mean because she's seen a lot of Japanese drama, like I've seen Japanese drama and Japanese comedy drama, where it can be based, it can have essences of something that came before. It can be a follow on, it can be a bit of a spin off, a bit. But, you know, if you're, there are certain rules and certain legend necessities, shall we say, with Gojira that you cannot get past. You have to include them. This film included them. Now, does that mean that they have the freedom to change certain things and move slightly away from the established timeline storyline? Yes, they do. Yes, they did. And I like that. My problems with the film don't come from that. My problems come from the amount of screen time that Goji was on screen. We didn't have, I mean, we only had one major attack on a city. Everything else was either on Odo or it was in the water. And that's very different for a Goji film. Very different.
Do you have any thoughts on that, your Muslim uncle, about that point, Mrs.?
Yes.
Did you?
Yeah, I will say I don't know a lot about the other ones, but that was one thing I did notice, that there was not a lot. To me, there wasn't a lot of screen time for a Godzilla movie. It didn't bother me, no, because I don't know a lot about the other. I watched I lived where we had no movie theater and we had very limited television. So growing up, I didn't see a lot of them. I got to know some of them when I was older, but they didn't, VHSs were just coming out and all that stuff. So I didn't have access to a lot of it. But what so I don't know a lot of the lore. If I had a chance to watch one, I'd watch it. And I enjoyed it, but I didn't have a chance to learn all the lore and all that stuff. But I did think that there was not a lot of Godzilla in it for a Godzilla movie.
That is true.
But I enjoyed it because I didn't care. Because I liked everything else worked. If they had more in it, if it sacrificed what was in it now, I don't think I would have liked it as much. If they extended the length of it and put more Godzilla in, and said, we're not going to sacrifice this story. We're not going to sacrifice these scenes so we can have Godzilla, beating up another city.
Right.
If they just added it in there, I would have been fine.
If we have the movie that you enjoyed, plus we added a couple of Godzilla trouncing Japan or Okinawa, yes, I agree with you 100%. 100%. And I'd like to just answer Mr. Angel's question.
Well, let me before we do that.
You will love it. You will love it.
Yeah, but let me let your Muslim uncle answer on that. Hi, Wade. By the way, I've got a number of things. This chat is on fire. I've got a number of things I want to come back to. But your Muslim uncle, what are your thoughts on the screen time for Godzilla?
With the amount of screen time for Gojira? Can I just say assalamu alaikum to Sufi mom? She's watching, so I just want to say hello to my mom.
Hello.
Is that all right? I saw a name out there that I not
Miriam.
All right. Well, hello.
Oh, lovely name.
She's watching. She's watching through her Roku.
Hey, nice.
Yay.
That's a third platform you have now, Dadman.
Well, we got 19 people watching. Oh my gosh, folks. Hey, thank y'all. Like I always say, subscribe, like the channel. We try to do different things, and but hey, like it. And I've got the Mrs. link out there. But go ahead, let her hear your voice on this one then.
So yeah, I agree with Mrs. and Hungry at the same time. You know what I mean? Like,
oh yeah,
it was. I, as a non-artist, as a non-movie maker, as just a fan, really enjoyed it as is.
Yes.
And as a Godzilla fan, from a wee lad, I still have my 70s Shogun Warrior Godzilla with the shooting fists and the roller skates.
Yeah, Raideen.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, I have the Godzilla, and
the Godzilla. Oh wow.
I had that.
and,
I had that and Radine.
nice.
Keep going.
Brave,
Keep going,
Dean.
Uncle. Keep going.
I would have liked to have seen more of him, and I wouldn't be hurt if they had on the 4K release like some extra scenes that I could check because yes, I mean the monster. I mean I realized this time, and I feel almost ashamed of it, when he was doing his power up for his beam weapon, that's where the wave motion gun comes from. That's where the main gun on the SDF-1 comes from. That is the birth of the Japanese super beam weapon. Gojira.
It is.
It was just like mind blown.
That is a beautiful point. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. And I'm a massive fan of Star Cruiser Yamato. Massive fan. Which to other people, okay, that's the Japanese thing. Right. It was called Star Blazers in America in the 70s. But
well, let me take a moment here. We'll get caught up with the chat. So, like I said, our normal things. Hey, we got a new subscriber! Yay!
Hurrah!
That is. I don't get the notifications, unfortunately, but hey, thank you for being here tonight, everybody. I appreciate y'all being here. But thank you to the new sub. 2 more away from 540. Check out my wife's channel, Mrs. Dadman Walking 55 too, when you get a chance. But let's get caught back up to the chat. I've got quite a few things that it's on fire tonight. So Admiral Teague said the movie subverted his expectation by meeting my expectations. I got what I paid for. Darn straight. So Appion said, is atomic breath changed for the better? And let me go through these and then we can hit them as they come up and go back to anything. Whether Mrs. Your Muslim uncle or hungry, just have your points ready. Admiral Teague said, I thought the maritime scenes were really good and gave him a new way of attacking. Yes, definitely. Now, I've not seen the Monarch, but they've comparatively, Teague says he was on a lot. Now, maybe we need to stop here with this question. Since I haven't seen it, from Mr. Angel, since I haven't seen it, is the movie worthy ode to the Godzilla genre? Is all he wants to know? Yes or no?
Yes. Okay. Yes. All
right.
But don't expect too much Godzilla on screen, Mr. Angel.
Well,
you can forgive that. If you can forgive that, that's fine.
I do want to hit that point in just a second as a possible thing. So, so get that comment there. So, construction workers got whole cities to rebuild. Yes, exactly.
Maybe this was the Japanese's thing for the New Deal. Wasn't that what they did where they had all the building? All the Japanese version of the New Deal. We had Godzilla come through so you'd have something to fix.
Thank you for that shout out there, Teague. Appreciate it. So, hey.
Thank you.
They also make fun of it at Project Echo. It's good for the economy. Oh, yes, exactly. He gave the stimulating economy, gave many people work.
Oh, Teague, how can you say that?
No, man. So, yes, let's see with that. Okay. I think we answered Mr. Angel's question with that. So, all right. I think we got caught up here with everything in here because I'm not used to chat jumping. You guys are on fire out there tonight. Let's take a look at where the poll is. You guys get a little breather here, and we will think about where you want to go next with this. Let me take a look at the poll. We have got still 16 votes, 17 votes. 1 or 0 is at 12%, 3 is at 12%, 4 stars at 71%, 2 is at 6%. As I've said before, if you're one that did not like this movie, whether they gave it a 0, a 1, or even a 2, we want to hear what you have to say. We don't mind. We like to hear different opinions around here. So, all right. So,
I mean, I do have complaints about the movie. Don't get me wrong, but I mean, overall, I love it. And you have to remember, I've been watching Godzilla since 1973 or 72. Yeah. And I've watched every Godzilla film I can possibly see. I've seen every Japanese version. I've watched the only Godzilla films I don't like actually are the '98 version and the first 2014 version by Legendary. And I will always dislike the Legendary versions versus the Japanese versions because they do not get the integral spirit of the franchise and the character. They don't get it. And it is too fat. I mean, I'm a fat dude, so I'm allowed to say that. Okay.
Yeah.
The fact of the matter is the Legendary Godzilla is too fucking fat. And I'm just going to say that.
Well, why do you say that, boy? We got 19 people. You guys amaze me, and thank y'all for being here. And your Muslim uncle, it's great to have you on again with us. And Hungry Boy, as always, but in the midst
of it's an honor and pleasure to be with you guys always. You guys are really awesome, and thank you.
Exactly. So you think he's fat though? I always thought he was just big boned.
You have not seen the original versions, man. This keeps going back. If you have not seen the original versions, you can't compare. You can't compare.
Look, Hungry will come to your house personally and watch each one of them with you. He will spend no expense.
Yes, I will.
To come to your house to watch these movies with you.
Look at that. Legendary Godzilla needs to stop skipping leg day.
Yes, thank you, Santa. I mean, dude, this guy is a chunkus. He's a chunkus. Okay,
we hit 20. We've hit 20 people watching.
He's not as much of a chunkus as in the Legendary movies, but he's a chunkus.
Beefier Godzilla looks like a guy in a lizard, my dudes. And Appian says Godzilla needs a treadmill.
I'm crying.
Godzilla weighs 8 pounds. The rest is bad breath and warts.
Yeah, exactly.
Thor.
This definitely is not your 1998 Matthew Broderick Godzilla. That's for sure.
No, that was an iguana. That does not count. That's a tuna eater.
I like what T pointed out. He does every Godzilla thing. The way he chased the people in the city. The way, like here, picking up the subway train, throws it in the building. I mean, it really. And then he does the nuke breath. Although I agree with Appian, this is a newer, neat version. And then we see the Blu-ray, which I'm not quite sure what that is. Then you have the heat ray. He's got like heat and cold, I guess, or heat and he's got
no. He never has cold. He never has.
Is that the atomic? Never. I don't understand the blue, and then later with the ships, the heat ray.
Okay, so the blue is representative of the light that is given off in nuclear generators. This was established in King Kong versus Godzilla in 1972. So again, you haven't seen the film, so you can't know. Apologies.
Well, no, that's what we're here for. That's what we're here for, to talk about this stuff and learning stuff.
I hope you're taking notes.
Yeah, well, I am, but I'll have to rewind and watch it again later. But and like I said earlier on the poll, people, if you didn't like this movie, let us know why. And it's no judgment. We'd like to hear differing opinions. I really am one that like to learn because you may convince me. And like this guy, Hungry Boy, now loves Fifth Element because of Appian talking about it, and he can't get enough of Fifth Element. Ruby Rod. Frosted Palace!
Okay. No, that is incorrect. I said everything except Ruby Rod. Okay,
I said
Ruby
that. Rod.
No, I don't.
Ruby Rod.
I hate Ruby
But anyway,
Rod.
Go ahead with this point. Sorry.
No. But the situation is, Godzilla ranges in size and weight, and his actual atomic breath will change from movie to movie. It is most often electric blue, but then it ends up being a pink violet color in more than a few movies. Yeah. And the actual devastation effect of the breath will change as well. Sometimes it only heats something up until it melts. Sometimes it can cause explosions. Sometimes in this movie, it actually, at the end result, causes an atomic explosion with a mushroom cloud, for God's sake.
But see, in that scene, Mrs. I think we might have talked about it. That whole scene, when he shot that and then it took out the city where the lady, kind of the hard to believe they survived. But that spine, right? That was the scene where it was like, boom.
They're called dorsal spines. Yeah.
Well, they did that. It did that before. It did it before that also when he was in the water. Uh, um,
But the devastation was not as great. The devastation was
but,
not as
but
great.
the point was on land, in that scene on land, like Mrs. said, it had been in water. But that point on land, we got a close up of it. It was like boom, 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 and you can just see it was like creating an environment, anticipation. Oh, he's about to shoot, and the blue. It just was. The way they shot that really just got me like, oh, here it comes. Because they intentionally they didn't go boom, 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 boom. No, it was like boom, 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 and it was leading up to the big devastation.
That is an extension of the old Godzilla films, even the first one, where right before he unleashes the breath, his dorsal spines will light up. They didn't pounce out the way they do in this film, but they do light up. And that has been an established visual trope in Godzilla films ever since 1954. So I like the lighting up thing. But one of my visual problems is the spines being too big in proportion to the body, or the head being too small in proportion to the body.
And see, that's where we have different opinions on something like that, folks. We agree to disagree on some of those things because I liked the way those things poked up, because he added another element to it. It was like, boom, this guy's really gearing up to let you have it.
That's your pew pew, dude.
Yeah,
that's your pew pew versus.
Yeah, exactly. Mrs., did you have an opinion one way on the that mechanics of it, or?
Well, honestly, not knowing what not remembering what it looked like before. It didn't bother me. I kind of liked it. I kind of liked that they had the different color, and that it kind of started off slow. You're like, because you're kind of like, oh shit, what's going on? He's like,
happy,
and then all of a sudden it's like, and then he's like, wow, and then he does, the whole sonic boom thing.
If the spines had been smaller, Mrs., if the spines had been smaller, I would have been happy with it. But the way they popped out directly, like it was a toy that a child had manipulated a switch, and then the spines came out way too far than they should have. Visually, I'm going to be picky.
I wonder if you can find it. I'm going to look and see if I can find a picture of that.
Yeah.
Hungry, I have a question for you in regards to, because of your historical knowledge. In my mind, and I haven't seen all 33, but I don't ever remember, even though he is radioactive, the blast is radioactive, I don't ever remember them doing the cloud to let you know for sure this is like a nuclear bomb going off.
This is the first time they did the cloud.
Because that was amazing. And that
I agree with that.
Holy crap. It was even scarier. And I don't know how that could get scarier, but it was like more frightening.
It was more scary than Shin Gojira. More scary than Shin. And the Shin atomic breath is actually more destructive than in this movie. But the fact that they use the visual implication of the mushroom cloud makes it psychologically more scary for us seeing it.
Well, let me tell you about this. See, this looks like, I don't know what you said about it. He's a buff guy. He's got pecs there. Look at that. That's a flat stomach. Maybe not the Henry Cavill abs, but he's a toned stomach there. So,
no, it's fine.
Mrs., what do you think of those abs?
Oh, those abs! Oh my gosh, that's why I love this movie so much. He's shirtless. Ooh.
Okay, now
when those spines pop out, oh my gosh!
No, Dadman.
Hold your question, Hungry. Hold your question. I want to hit a couple comments and make a couple things real quick. Teague says spine lightning gives you one in time to react. Yes, I agree. To me, that was what was effective of it. Appion poisoning people with fallout. That's something I picked up on interesting with the all the nuclear reactors, the testing and all that stuff. The black rain, which I took being from the ash, but still, but they had the metal detector, the detector guys out there, the scientists and stuff.
The Geiger counters.
The Geiger counters had no safety equipment on it
exactly.
All.
They had those.
They're like, nobody can go here because there's radiation, but we're going to go la-di-da-di-da.
Raincoats.
Hey, Mrs. Those men had no mamas. Those men had no mamas, Mrs.
But they had the raincoats on. Remember the raincoats? But
oh my gosh,
Teague said there's a cool down. Yeah, there's a cool down. With that these are things that they put it here. Oh no, Santa, he's not sucking in a gut. Okay,
good one, Teague. Good one.
Yes. All right, but okay, go ahead, Hungry.
Well, I mean, I just want to also add, because I've been bitching a little bit and I'll be bitching later, but I overall love this movie. One of the things I adore about this Goji design is that we have a more reptilian aspect to it. So we have the mutated scales, we have the things that have changed him, but overall,
Right.
I mean, look at the abdomen. That is very crocodilian, very crocodilian,
And yeah.
you look at the shoulders and you have the scales pointing out, and you look at the way the scales diminish and become smooth towards the forearm.
Yeah.
So artistically, this is magnificent. It absolutely is.
I will
The head is
concede-
too damn small.
I will concede. Now, see, watching it in a theater, it was not a bad thing because I in a theater it was like it looked big. Maybe it was a close up angles, but here in this picture, I can see what you're saying. The head does look proportionally smaller
Yes.
than the chest and the hands. I mean, I see your point on that. I can agree with that. But I will say
Yeah,
that
my wife pointed that out. That was one of her things. She's like, "Why is his head smaller?"
Nice one. Nice one, Auntie. Nice one. Credit to Auntie. Thank you for sharing that, your Muslim uncle. Thank you.
Oh.
I mean, honestly, the head, if you look at it, can I send you like the Godzillas throughout the ages in the DMs, or is that not good for now? Shall I?
What's that?
I can send you the different pictures of Godzilla in the Japanese movies throughout history.
Yeah, put it in the private chat. Yeah, then I'll try to look at
it. There might be
yeah, fax it to me there, buddy.
There might
fax it. I get that joke.
Now
I love my fax machine.
Now the spine uranium comment. Okay, go ahead, Miss. Sorry.
I was looking for some about like the spines, and it has every I was looking at MSN. I have not looked. Let me look at it and see if it's actually there. Continue reading. Okay, let me see if it shows the pictures. I was looking. It kind of shows the pictures of the Godzillas by size. But
I got those. I was going to send those, but we don't need that necessarily. Hold on. You keep talking, Mrs.
I was looking to see, because I'm looking and I kind of see what you're saying about the head being small compared to some of the other Godzillas.
What about Mr. Angel's points about the spines probably are supposed to be uranium ore as a source of power?
Never been brought up directly in script. Never been brought up ever. But it is implied, but it is never directly brought up. And the Japanese, for some reason, do not talk about uranium or plutonium. Maybe that has something to do with history. I don't know. That's a joke he'll get. But
Santa Megatron will light smoke signals, letting you know where to send the pictures. But yeah, I do. I got you. I can see even without looking at the other pictures. It does look out of proportion with the rest of the body. I will say.
Okay,
but
hold
I don't
on.
think
Wait. Hold on. And sent all the different to your DM on Tweety. All the different Gojiras from history, and you can show this to everybody in the chat, and they can see the differences in head size. I'm sorry, I get very pedantic about artistry.
Talk about head size.
You're an artist too. I mean, like I said, I get it, man.
But I'm wondering if, because so many of the things, like when you look at it in this picture, his head looks huge, and if his head was bigger to match his body, maybe it would have just been too difficult for these scenes.
Yeah,
maybe maybe that was why it was done, was because of certain shots. Because in these scenes, he looked huge. His head looked huge.
Well, the one thing I do like, I like the head design. I just don't like the size of the head in proportion to the body.
At certain angles, because to me, it looks perfectly fine here because you don't see the whole body, and maybe that. So I don't know.
And also, he looks like a really angry puppy here, and I think that's great.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah, have you guys ever seen that movie, The Never Ending Story?
Yes.
That's what he looks like.
Yes.
He looks like, he's a pissed off version of that flying thing.
The flying dog thing?
Yeah. Doesn't his face
God.
kind of look like that?
That's awesome.
I said I wanted a bone, damn it.
Yeah. Nice one, Mrs. Nice one.
Boat.
But I mean, look at the way the eye crests are angling down, which they could not do in the older films,
Right.
And his eyes are much smaller, which implies a meaner animal, whereas the eyes in the old Goji films are huge compared to this. Huge compared to this. These are like little grapes compared to a plum.
Yeah,
just so tiny. Oh, but he's just like, I'm gonna eat that boat. I'm gonna eat this boat. You're done. I have you.
I do want to ask something about that because sometimes the boats are just kind of hanging out in the water, and he goes and he attacks them.
Yeah.
And they're not doing anything to him. Why is he attacking them?
They're in his way. They're in his way.
Okay.
And you say an animal will perceive a boat as another animal. This is actually common in shark attacks in Australia.
I was going to say, I said I
Corey's
do know that with sharks.
Hope to see you in the morning, Corey. Good night.
Nighty-o, Corey. Nighty-o.
Sorry, I just wanted to jump in there.
Hail and good night, Corey.
He's just playing fetch with the fisherman.
I do know that with like you say, with sharks, because they don't have good vision. People think that they have great vision, but they just are mistaken that shiny bottom of whatever as
no.
Well, yes, you have a guy on a surfboard, and you have also a person who is in a wetsuit. Now, if you're in a wetsuit, a dark wetsuit, you are going to look like a seal to a shark. Sharks eat seals. If it looks like a seal, the shark's going to come up and attack.
But see right here, Appion brings in the original. He's stealing all the fish. Well, what we see in this episode, even at the start before he became mutated, and even later, he was kicking up all the dead fish around him,
right?
All the deep sea fish. Is this a different take on that, or is that what happened in the originals too?
There were a lot of aspects of deep sea life brought up in the original, and again, you haven't seen it, but I mean,
didn't they study? Didn't they use to study those fish to be able to attack Godzilla? Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, in the original, the Japanese original, and this was included in the Americanization of it, using Mr. Burr, who played Perry Mason, right?
That's right.
The situation was they actually found a trilobite, which should not have been alive, but we'll leave that alone, in one of the footprints of Gojira on Odo Island. They found a trilobite, which is 370 million year old creature. Okay. And so that was incredibly good science fiction for the time. But Gojira has always been a little bit hungry for the marine life. He always has been, and he has been associated with deep sea marine life. And hold on, I'm just looking at what you're putting up on the chat here. It's supposed to be fishing. Clear them first. Yeah, that's correct. But this was everything about this film was more about the euphemism versus the scientific reality. They didn't have this is one of my complaints about it. They didn't actually have a scientific explanation for Gojira. They didn't bring up, he's a mixture of two dinosaurs like in the original film, but it's still a wonderful film. I'm not coming down on it for that. I'm just saying I would have liked to have had those elements brought into the movie.
We get it. You hate it. We get it.
Do you think maybe they didn't do that because they're assuming that, they're assuming there's just some stuff that people know the lore of?
they assume the Japanese people know the lore, and they don't care if we round eyes know the lore.
Right. So the fact that it wasn't there is.
But they want our round eyes to watch their stuff, though.
Yeah, true.
But listen,
I don't think they give a shit whether we watch it or not.
No, I agree. I think
tell that to the manga and anime budgets.
Nice one. Nice one.
Well, the manga, I tell you what's very popular over here. It's out doing the comic industry and stuff. So,
that's true.
Good for them for doing what they do. Because I tell you what, you mentioned Toho.
Yes.
This was a good movie. I know you have a complaint about how many times Godzilla was not in here.
Yeah.
It was enough for me. It was enough for me because I'll tell you what, they got the human interest story right.
But that's you.
But it doesn't matter though. But how boring can it be just seeing a monster crushing the city?
But I'm going to play a devil's advocate. It's called Godzilla.
I know. Thank you, Mrs.
I mean, and then, like I said, I would have no problem seeing more Godzilla if they didn't sacrifice the story.
No, that's true.
No,
but they had to develop the story.
But add 15 more minutes of Godzilla footage.
You beat me to it, Mrs. You beat me to it. Make it 20 minutes. 20 minutes. Yeah. Just add 2 more battle scenes and have Gojira, like in Shin Gojira, utterly destroying certain cities so we really feel the need to defeat him. But now, to be fair to Mr. Dadman and also your Muslim uncle, if we had seen Gojira doing what he could do to these cities even more, that would have made the ending, the last 20 minutes of the film, mean nothing, because we would not have believed they could have done what they did. We would not have believed it. We would not believe, okay, you can destroy all of Tokyo and one guy flying a fighter jet with some bombs into your mouth takes you out. We would not believe it. So it was a matter of decision.
But I was looking at how he destroyed the city. He didn't destroy it by fire or anything. He destroyed it with his tail, and by what? Because he was huge. I mean, honestly, he just destroyed it. So
his tail did the most damage.
But it's not like it was that fire that destroyed everything or anything. So I think if he went through a city and just, stepped on people, it just did what he did there, I wouldn't have had a problem with believing that a bomb in the mouth, because it wasn't done in any of those cities. Now, if they had them, shooting things in his mouth in the cities and he wasn't dying, I'd go, okay. But he was just being like a bull in a china shop. Just,
yeah, okay.
So it wouldn't have bothered me at all if they added more of him destroying things, because he was just walking through.
Santa Megatron, he's just going for a stroll.
Yeah, he was. He was just trying to get from one place to the other, and then these damn flies kept bothering him, so he had to stop. He didn't go out to kill the journalists. Well, he just knocked down the building.
Wait.
Appian did say that there's more Godzilla in this than the 2014 remake.
That is true, and that is why I hate the 2014 remake. But Admiral Teague, no. Fight with Kong on an aircraft carrier. No. You're pushing my buttons, and you are. I have to go pee. You guys talk.
Well, I
was about to ask you a question, though. I know.
I was going to.
What is this about the oxygen destroyer?
Is that from the Ferris Bueller movie, or did they also do that in the original? I can't remember.
I have no clue.
I was going to ask him, and I also was going to ask him if Godzilla had as much time in the original movie on screen as in this, if he's also saying that there was more in the original movie compared to this. I'm curious about that as well.
Yeah, trying to get to the Megalodon buffet before it closes. Appian says it's the original. In the original, so
right, yeah, okay, so yeah, that's interesting. They did something somewhat similar, right?
Yeah. So I'm not sure. I'm curious about this oxygen destroyer thing. So,
that's cool. When you do your watch parties for all 33 Godzilla movies, we'll find out.
Yep.
I wonder if you could get them on Amazon.
I have some. I was going to take. You can. I don't know if you can get all. I've got a bunch of them. I just took a picture. I'll put it in.
Oh,
This is oxygen. A wacky scientist creates an oxygen destroyer and kills Godzilla with it.
Well,
Gotcha.
that is absolutely correct in the first movie, and that is something that is kind of brought up in this movie. But again, I use the word euphemistically, where we have the mad scientist, so to speak, in this
Oh
film,
wow,
and
we can see him. Wow.
we and he come up with, we as the audience, he as the progenitor of the idea, come up with a brilliant science fiction idea of first compressing Gojira due to suboceanic depths. And that is great. And then everybody says, well, what if that doesn't kill him? And he says, well, we'll just bring him up
Oh, I
real
think they're in the
fast and
chat.
he will decompress. He'll decompress. And that is good science. That is accurate science. There are creatures we want to study from the suboceanic depths that we can't, because they can only exist within a certain pressure. And
Right.
that was an absolutely beautiful part of the film. And as we all know, regardless of how we feel in terms of military politics towards Japan because of World War II, scientifically, they are a fantastic culture. Scientifically, they really are. And this was a beautiful point to bring up in the movie, but it is not the equal of the oxygen destroyer in the original film. Because if you think of the idea of taking all oxygen out of an area, number one, that means, H2O. It's in the name.
Yes.
Okay.
It's an atomic blast. You're separating atoms.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And then you
Yeah.
look at taking all the oxygen out of the air. The oxygen destroyer can be used in the air. That means none of us can breathe. None of us. It is a devastating concept for a weapon, and you have to look in science fiction, even if it is combined with giant monsters and horror. The science of science fiction horror matters. And this is why the original Gojira and this Gojira matter a lot, because the science is there.
Yes. All right.
Oh yeah.
Alrighty.
Okay. On the 2 points. Sorry, Dadman, if that's okay. One was Hungry. Did Gojira have as much screen time in the original as in this one, or more?
About the same.
Okay,
Roughly
so
the
you
same.
just
Roughly.
okay. So it's just as a fan, it's not comparing it to the original. You're just saying as a fan, you wanted to see more, right?
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, honestly, what we had, here's how I explain it. The amount of screen time doesn't matter to what the character or creature does. So the moment that we see Gojira first appearing in the original, he's rising over the hilltop that the villagers on Odo Island are running up to escape Gojira, but somehow he's behind them. He's already figured out where they're going, and he is upset. And then we see his first attack in the water. It's brutal, it's vicious, even though we don't see him that much. But then when we're seeing his devastation of Tokyo, it goes on and on and on. And we see people in hospitals. We see horrible things happen in the Japanese, not the American version, the Japanese version. So I wanted more of that. I'm your Muslim uncle. I needed to have more of that. Whereas, chasing a ship is not the same as devastating 5 districts of Tokyo in less than 5 minutes. That has more emotional impact, a lot more emotional impact.
I think the first scene, like you talk about that emotional impact when he's, you know, attacking the military men. And you see where he's like picking them up with his mouth and throwing them and
Right.
and stomping on them and all that brutality of it. And I look at it and it was brutal, but I also go, they were shooting at him. They were shooting at him, and he was a little ticked off because they were shooting at him. I know he was a little mad when he was going through there, but I think if they left him alone, I don't. Of course, then we wouldn't have had a movie. I get that, but if they left him alone, he would have just, been a little pissed off, maybe knocked down something, and left. but they
Right,
shot him. And so
and kind of
to
a
me,
point. Yeah.
I kind of equate it like, when a dog gets a flea and they just have to bite and mess or a tick, and they just have to dig and dig until they get it off of them. I kind of feel this is how he kind of saw these people. They were annoying him, and he was a
Right,
little
and to
pissed
your
off
point,
anyway.
because he
And
didn't
so,
eat them.
no, he just
He
bust
didn't
them.
eat them.
Your
He
Muslim
didn't eat
uncle.
them. He just killed them. So that I think that's a valid point.
You
right?
probably
He
don't.
left the bodies.
You probably don't know this, your Muslim uncle, but there was a law, shall we say, a rule from Toho Studios saying that Gojira can never eat a human. And that goes back to the 60s. Yes.
Well, going back to the 60s, actually going back to the late 40s, this is
I thought that really proved her point.
This is one
you know
of the Japanese.
It did. Fighting.
It did. It did.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree. No, I agree with you 100%. I'm just saying there was an ostensible reason for that. I don't know if that rule was still in play. I'm just saying that the rule did exist back at least as early as 1962.
One of the things that I like, because of course I'm the history guy and stuff like this, I did notice some of the tanks that they had in there.
Of course you did.
Look at the parallels with we're talking about attention to details and things like that.
Yeah.
I mean, this is one of the Japanese light tanks, and the tanks that they use look like very similar to these type of tanks, which I thought.
Now this is another
time period placing. Yeah.
That maybe you can answer this question. So, so all the Japanese companies, they were war effort companies. Like Toyota, I think Toyota was tanks. Honda was the planes. Mitsubishi was like the torpedoes.
No, the Mitsubishi was a plane like the Mitsubishi Zeros.
Well, the Zeros, okay. And one of them, was it Datsun? One of them was specifically the company that made the torpedoes. And I was like, so are they saying that scientist was like the head of that company? You know what I mean?
Very possible. I mean, it's very possible. But, at that point, we got to fight a big monster. So...
Right, I thought it was just Admiral like a little historical lore.
Right. Mitsubishi was big with the planes. There were probably some other manufacturers, but the most famous was the Mitsubishi Zero at the beginning of the war. So, but yeah, this was just something with attention to detail that I saw was, I mean, when they brought out the tanks inside of the city Ginza, I was like, those look like the tanks I've seen in the documentaries. So, and they had multiple types of tanks. But I nerded out on that one, so sorry about that. But but then again, I appreciate the time period placement. What they do with so much stuff that they made you feel like you were in that period for a purpose, Because I didn't when I walked in, I did not expect to be confronted with World War II at that point. It was a pleasant surprise. So.
That's a very interesting point because again, you come from the military, I come from the artistic, the costuming, all that other stuff. And when you study the actual outfits of people, the clothing of people at the time, this is a very accurate film. When you look at the architecture of homes, which were very small in areas that we see in Japan in this film, that is very accurate. When you look at the devastation of the fire bombings at the beginning of the film, but then the devastation that Gojira inflicts upon Ginza in the film, very accurate. And these things make a difference even subconsciously to someone if they're not consciously aware of it. And that is why this film is brilliant, and I do love it, and it is one of my top 5 Gojira films. But the clothing is just amazing in this film, and the architecture is amazing in this film when you've actually seen photographs of what Japan really looked like versus the way it's often portrayed in big budget Hollywood films that don't care. They don't care.
I'm going Canadian Spider-Man. I'm going to have to not go down. I was like, oh yes, I got to stay off that rabbit trail.
That's another show. That's another show.
Exactly.
If you start talking history, I'm going to leave.
All right, all the models and miniatures are great.
She'll say thanks for the memories.
Yes,
Yes,
I will.
Thanks for the memories. Oh, that hurts. That
I
hurts.
do
But
agree.
thank you,
It was
Mr.
All
Angel.
we're
Thank
a
very
little
you. Thank you
painful.
for being here. Oh, thank you,
Okay.
Mr. Angel. I hope you
Exact-
watch the movie. I think you will really enjoy it. I really
Yeah,
do.
I do. I agree. With the people that we talked to on our row, they when they were done, they liked it. You know, and even the lady was actually had a good time. I guess so. That's not what they expected. So, all right. Do we have any other? Let's see.
I got tons of notes. I haven't even been
Okay.
able to talk
All right.
about, but you
Well,
know, I
let
want to
me
hear.
let me focus
I
with the
wanna he-
missus though. The missus is
Yes.
on more of a time crunch.
Absolutely.
Mrs. I know we've gone 2 hours. Can you stay or do you need to go deal with other stuff?
Well,
I know.
when I need to go, I'll let you know. I mean,
Okay.
I no, and I'm just
Mhm.
when I get no. What's going to happen is right now I'm not tired. As soon as I get tired, I'm going to say goodbye and I'm going to bed
Okay.
because
You
Oh,
I
you
got
go
to have to.
kerplunk. You go
Yes, I go.
kerplunk too.
Yes,
right. Well,
Right.
I just
Okay.
wanted to make
so
sure she got it ready for her show
I
tomorrow.
I've been working on it actually during the
Okay.
thing, but I pretty much the big thing I wanted to say I think I said.
Mm.
I think I got my big points across, and it was
You did beautifully.
kind of
Thank you.
kind of nice, you know. I'd like to. I was looking. I think I the place you told us to go look for things. Um,
Yes.
I looked. I'm going to go find some of them.
Nice one, Mrs. Good on you,
Yeah,
Mrs. Good
yeah.
on. And you
So
know Muslim. You know what I mean. Your Muslim uncle when I say
Well,
good
yeah.
on you,
Also, my
Mrs.
in-laws are Swedish, if you know what I
Yeah.
mean.
Yeah. Oh, nice one. But I mean, the other thing, Mrs., that I just wanted to mention is that drama in the Japanese dramas does not get in the way of the plot, whereas these
mhm,
days in a lot of American stuff the drama will get in the way of the plot, and I don't feel that in this film the plot was harried or diminished in any way by the
mhm,
internal drama, and it was wonderful. And we see this a lot in Japanese dramas, and I apologize to anyone who has not seen Japanese dramas because they're really, really good.
They
yeah,
are.
yeah,
I will say the Missus picks better shows. That's so much better than most
Right.
American television.
But
So
the men there are allowed to be utterly macho, but when something really hits them, they are allowed to cry, and they are not diminished in terms of the
mhm,
cinematography by crying. And then they come back and they do something strong. They show the entire length and breadth of manhood. That
mhm,
includes weakness, but strength. Weakness
well,
and strength.
yeah.
let me go here with this. But Mrs., would you like to, since we have a lot of people with us, tell us later on this morning, 9 a.m. for your morning muses with Miss Dabman. Tell us about your show a little bit.
Well, it's Morning Muses with Mrs. Dadman Walking 55. It's your I have it subtitled Your Daily Dose of Positivity. It's just a time for you get up, we talk, have your cup of coffee before you go to work, or if it's lunchtime, have your tea, whatever time of day it is, just come in to hang out, have a good time, talk. We talk about birthdays and we have funny memes and we talk about things that they have celebrated that time, which Mr. Angel is just amazed that they even have an oxygen day. Um, so we did look that up and find that out for him. So yes, it's just we just have fun, we laugh.
Oh.
Um, I just chatter away, if you know so you go basically you go there, I talk with the chat and you hear everything that goes on in my brain because whatever comes in my brain comes out of my mouth during that show. So I'm just chattering away and having a good time and enjoying it with
Mm-hmm.
whoever's there.
So
And
and go
yeah.
sub to her channel. She's at 118 subs on the YouTube side.
Oh wow.
Only two more for 120, and she's actually affiliated on Twitch now, so she is monetized
Yes.
and earn
And
money
I
from
actually
subscriptions and stuff.
my next goal is to get 500 on YouTube, obviously. So I guess 150 will be. I have to start pushing my goal stuff at 150 to get on YouTube and slowly work up on there. I got Twitch in a month, so about a month and a half. So I'd like to say, and then in a year, I'd like to, at my anniversary, I'd like to have 500 subs. So that's my goal. And
Well,
I
that's
think
like 3 weeks.
my anniversary, not Jan 2024, you doofball.
Oh well, okay. Well, hey.
Uh,
Well,
silly.
by that way, Stan as asking, is there a photosynthesis day too?
I will let you know tomorrow. I will look. Come to the show and I'll let you know.
All right,
Nice.
that's
Great
the way to
stuff.
do it. Hey, but yeah,
And
still support her.
I'm actually writing it down so I can look it up.
All right.
Photosynthesis.
All right. So thanks for letting me take a little plug in there for the Mrs.
Oh,
Well.
and
Check her channel. Yeah.
tomorrow at 2 p.m., I'm going to be doing a build. It's going to be Yellowstone with Old Faithful and a Yellowstone bus in it. It's like one of those little mini builds that I do. And that's tomorrow. And then on Friday, hopefully we're going to finish the Starry Night, and that's also at 2 o'clock. So that's like my week.
Hooray!
Busy week.
So
All right. She does this show every day, folks. So it's just a lot of fun. Actually, last week on a Sunday, I thought I was going to have to walk out there and take over for her because she got tickled, and she just couldn't stop laughing. She just
it was
plane.
It was
Go ahead.
it was the plane one. We had plane memes, and I don't remember why because it had something to do with something. But the plane, it was like in the middle of a neighborhood, like it landed there. There was no buildings destroyed or anything, and it said, "That's what I get for following Apple Maps" or something like that. And it just tickled me. See, it's not funny unless you see the meme.
But I heard it. I was like, I'm like, she's lost it, and I'm like, I was about to walk out there, but she pulled it together really quickly. But come laugh, have some fun with the misses on those shows. So, all right, well, we'll get back to this movie. Anybody got any of you guys on the panel? Any questions? Any other points that we may not have covered yet that you want to cover? And Hungry, if you got lots of notes, go ahead.
No, I've been talking too much. I would like to hear what your Muslim uncle has to say.
Okay. So one of the things that I thought, because you guys have pretty much touched on a lot of stuff, so it's like I'm putting pins and all the things, and even misses. It's like, yes, that's okay. Yeah, I felt bad, and I'm kind of curious more about that point. I thought it was interesting in that we were talking about in the beginning, where they were like saying the quiet parts out loud when it came to the firebombing of Tokyo. Like you could see their houses were made out of wood. This was a war crime. You know what I mean? This was a horrible thing that we did. You know what I mean? And you get to see like some of the aftermath of that. I thought that was it was good. You hear about Dresden. I've been to Germany, and people would just go, "Hey, what about Dresden?" So I thought that was I thought that was powerful.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was a very powerful thing to show in our faces, and also with the that these were people. Then not all of them wanted to fight to the last man.
But see, I don't necessarily think that it was meant to show it in our faces. I think what they did was they just brought the realism of it, because that realism gave added dimension and depth to these characters of them fighting for survival and what they had to do. But yeah, I was definitely a big point made there, because they really had nothing. You could see them shivering in the cold, struggling to get food.
Yeah, when everything's made out of paper and wood, using fire as a weapon is you're trying to murder them, not just military thing. You're trying to kill out a populace.
But this is another question. This is another question for you, your Muslim uncle. How did you feel about the fluctuating attitude between our two main male and female characters towards sorry, something is breaking? What's that noise?
I'm not
anyway,
sure.
So your Muslim uncle, how did you feel about the way that Shikisumura and Noriko were treating poor little Akiko, who could only have been about 2 or 3 years old? Did that that get to you in terms of the filmmaking and the times where she's crying when she's remembering her mama and she has to accept Noriko as her new mama? I mean, let's face it, if you become a war orphan, you need a new mama, and she got a new mama.
I don't think I don't think she I think Noriko was her mother. She was a baby, an infant. She did not have any recollection of at that age. I think when she was crying, it was when Noriko was gone and they
Yes.
could not tell her. So it was s- she was an orphan, but she wasn't because she had Noriko as
Yeah.
almost, since she was a baby. So I didn't mean to answer that. Go ahead, your Muslim uncle. I will be quiet.
No, 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 no. That's fine.
You answered for him again,
Yeah.
Mrs.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'll be quiet. Well, because I thought you were saying that
No.
she was crying because she was missing her real mother.
No. But there
Oh,
was a moment when she was crying at the beginning of the film, and then later on she adjusted Noriko as her new mother. There are two moments in which poor little Akiko is crying, and it's very deep. And so I wanted to ask your Muslim uncle about that, but I'm very glad you jumped in. This
I'm sorry. I'm
No,
muting my
don't
mic.
be sorry.
I can't.
No, don't, no. But you're Muslim. How did you feel about that? Did that affect you watching the film? Did that emotionally
Yeah, I
get
mean,
you?
all of the emotional, understated things, that you was just you witnessed their emotion from
Mm.
his feeling of failure and not and struggling with reality, and still trying to be a good, decent person by taking care of these
Mm.
two, for the neighbor, switching from being angry and then also just,
Yes.
finding still a reason to live, to help. And yeah, you have this little girl who her world is constantly being wiped out, right? She,
Right.
wiped out, and then the new parent is, doesn't
Good
want to
night,
be your
Steve.
dad, and then
Nighty Thor.
am I losing my dad? Am I losing my mom? I mean, yeah, I like I said, I don't know, I haven't read anything about the writers, but I'd be really curious to see, hear them talk about the things that they were trying to express by using her as a symbol.
Mm-hmm.
Because yes, it was very powerful. I felt the pain of all of this.
Mm.
Yep. Well, we've got let's see, Pacific Rim vibes. Appion said, "Yeah, it kind of did have that. It kind of had Pacific Rim vibes, but yet still."
Appion, no, that's horrible for you
No,
to
I mean,
say.
no,
No.
not no. In terms of the way the monsters came through and
I'm
did
kidding.
destruction, I
I'm
think.
kidding.
Oh, okay.
I'm kidding.
But yeah, exactly. Well, we'll convert you again, Appion.
But
I'll find something to convert you.
this don't you will never convert me to Pacific Rim. You can try, but you will fail.
Well, we
But
got to do the crappening though. So,
however, I just there were aspects of poor little Akiko that really got to me, because you look at all the wars that we have ever faced ever since we started recording wars, and you have orphans. And that to me really was important, especially since there is a moment in the original 1954 Gojira film where the mother is forced to lie to the children that she is holding and rocking back and forth to make them feel better after Gojira has destroyed Tokyo. And she says, "It's okay. It's okay. Daddy will be coming home soon." Now we know that's a lie. We know that's a lie, but it is a necessary lie. And there are necessary lies that are told to poor little Kiko in this film. And that really gets to me, because when I was a kid, I did not like lies. My mother did not like the lie about when her grandmother died. And it is dramatically very powerful.
well,
Very powerful. Yeah, Mrs. Go.
I said, well, you said that she wasn't the only orphan. All
True.
three of them were orphans. Yes,
Yes.
they were adults,
Wow.
but they
Yes.
all
Great point.
lost their parents.
Great
And
point.
um, Akiko Yeah, Akiko. That's right. I have a family member whose name's Akiko, and so
Ah.
whenever I say, I think I'm saying the wrong name. I'm saying, oh wait, um,
Hey,
kind
don't
of
worry
depend
about
on.
that. You got Gojira right after 2 tries. It only took Dadman 4 tries. He picked on himself like it took a year for him to
Hey,
say Gojira.
Gojira.
Yeah, you got it right. The missus got it
Gojira.
right. Muslim got it right. You all get it right. So keep your point going, missus. Let's go.
So they were all orphans, and
Yes.
and you look at that family aspect, and not only with the other trauma,
Mm,
they they then had no real blood family left.
mm,
They only now had their ancestors, and so that was very interesting. And when they had to tell Akiko that when she was asking for mom when she had
mm.
died in Ginja. Did I say that correctly? Was that the correct place?
Gija.
Um,
Yes.
um, and they just said, "Well, she's had to go somewhere for work. She'll, be back later." That I hate. I'm like you. I hate it when they lie,
Yeah, I know.
and I just wish that they just said, "She's not here," or so.
I know.
I just I hate lying to kids,
Ditto.
even if you think you're doing it for a good reason, and that hurt me and that bothered me because I'm like, you know, um, you know,
Well, I mean, I
she's
understand.
never coming back. But I want to say
Yeah.
something about the little kid at the end
Yeah.
of the movie. Okay,
Yes.
I wish that I was a little disappointed that they didn't have her like react to her mom being in the bed, seeing her mom. I mean, she hadn't seen her forever, and there's her mom, and the dad's all emotional. But I wish they just had a little something, even just if there was like a little mom or some, a little
I can explain that.
acknowledgement.
I can explain that in regards to Japanese filmmaking. And this is something I brought up on this channel often, which is subtext versus direct text. Okay. This kid has been adopted by Noriko. This kid, as a baby, has been seeing horrible burn victims, dead bodies. This kid has grown up in the worst of it. So by this point, this child at the end of the film is somewhere between, shall we say, 2.5 and 3 years old. This kid has, whether we like it or not, adjusted. And I don't like that. I don't like saying
Well,
that,
see,
but the
but
kid has adjusted.
I don't agree. I am going to disagree with you on
Oh,
that
good.
because most of the war was over when 6 months old.
Mm.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So any, I'm not saying that there might not be an impact at 6 months old, but I don't, unless they were like people that were walking around that had injuries.
Mm.
There was no more bombing, and when she was growing up, she
But there was the
actually.
crime. The crime. You forget the crime. People needing to steal from one another for food. People starving. There were
Yeah.
bad situations going on
Wow.
in that environment.
Okay, now that's different than what you said. I will agree with that there was crime and stuff there. And as a baby she was. They didn't really show a lot of that when they were in the home and in that
Mm.
safe spot after that with the guy where they kind of just were staying here. So I'm sure that there was stuff going on.
And
But
well, they did talk in the movie about when the rice was stolen, but there was still
Yes.
it was still at an infant stage. The baby
yeah.
would not have known that. At
And
that
they
point.
also, Mrs. They also had, why were you staying there outside when the child could be stolen? Euphemistically speaking, but the impact of the statement was there, and the guy didn't know. I mean, our Shikishima guy did not know, and she said, "I was waiting for you to come out from the public with the baby safely." I mean, she was taking into account the safety of the baby. So
Well, no,
the danger.
he didn't lay her down. He said, "Why did you just leave her there?" He says, "Because I wouldn't leave her there." And she said, "Well, I was
Yes,
waiting for you because I couldn't come out because they would find me." You
yes,
know.
yes.
Yeah.
But there was the understanding that it was a dangerous
Oh,
environment.
yes, it is. I agree with you totally. But that was more in the town. I don't. But what I'm saying is that with all the emotion that Akiko had missing
Yes.
her mom,
Yes.
and I know that there was an adjustment, but seeing her mom,
Mm.
I wish there was at least a little smile or a mom,
Oh, I agree with that.
acknowledgement. That's all I'm saying is that was the one thing with that I was like, because I'm like, at least smile, mom or something. But no, he sets her down. She doesn't even walk to the bed. She doesn't do anything, and because and then it's his thing. But you know what I'm saying?
Yes, I do.
I
I
wish there was
agree.
something there because I have seen, kids who haven't seen their mom for 30 minutes act like it's been 25 years,
Right, 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 right.
and that was the one thing that I wish that they would have just shown, even if it was a facial expression.
Okay, so
And
some
that would have been
directors
fun.
are not willing to do that. I mean, you have
Mhm.
to. Children, let me just be honest.
I know children
Very
suck
few
at
at acting. They suck at
yeah,
acting. They really do.
I understand that, but just there needed to be something there, or
I get you.
him saying, here's mom, or something, letting her know. I mean, my gosh, he carried her there.
I
He didn't
know.
even go,
I
here's your
know.
mom. Here's a Kiko. Have you missed her? No, I've won my battle with, my war is over.
And
So,
here
that's the only thing I wish that I have a really I have a problem with was I was like, why?
well, okay, so here's the situation where the missus changes my mind over a situation in the film the way Dadman and Happy On changed my mind about Fifth Element. Oh, great. Here we go again. Okay, no problem.
You're just
But
such a
those
big
were like
softy.
some
So.
of the directing. And honestly, looking and really trying to think in directing of the movie and things that they did, that truly I think was like if there was another one, I can't think of it right now, but that was one thing that just bothered me because I just don't feel that and I know you can't make a 2-year-old do anything. Maybe
I
they were in a
know. She
bad
was so
mood.
young. She was a toddler, babe. She was
Yes,
a toddler.
absolutely. But that's the one thing that was like that child's act that the character's actions
Mm.
weren't consistent at
Mm.
that scene, and that bothered me because they just needed something, or don't have her go in. Maybe have the
Right. She
other.
was more like an accessory at that
Yes,
point instead of part of the story.
like have the godmother come with them,
Right.
go with him, and he,
Nice
just like
one.
hands it to her where she's not in the room because maybe not knowing what she looks like,
Yeah.
maybe thinking she might be all scarred up, something just
Mm.
that was one point that just was like, yours is Godzilla's head size, mine is that scene. And that's one little thing that just bothers me.
Yeah.
But if that's all, then I think I'm okay.
Mm. Well,
I had a
it
question
was
for Dadman.
yes.
Yeah.
Dadman, was that jet or not jet, but experimental plane? Was that an actual experimental plane that they worked on during World War II? The one that he
Yes, it
flies
was.
into Gojira's mouth?
Yes. Yeah.
Yes,
They
it
had
was.
all kinds
Yes.
of experimental
Nice.
planes. They
Did
had
that geek you out? Did that
no,
nerd you out?
it did, but also if you notice that they kept making the comments about a country with no ejector seats and stuff like that in the culture. But if you read that German seat, that was a German seat, and then we found out that was actually an ejection seat. So, yeah, it was really geeky there. And I noticed tonight it was German. It was like, really, really cool. So, and Admiral Teague, I agree with you. 1947, because it was about spring to fall, spring to summer. They got the baby in about December of 45. So the child was maybe 2, maybe barely 2, barely turned 2 through a lot of this
Because
movie.
remember that child was not was still would be nursing, and I know you can nurse later, but I know, but it was still an infant. I would not say that child was a year old when they first introduced her. I would say that 6 months, maybe 6 months old. So I mean, it truly was an infant, a baby when it was first introduced into the show movie.
Yep.
So, and that, like I say, maybe 2.5. Yeah.
Yep. So, all right. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. It's things that you picked up. I didn't expect it the first time, but it definitely made sense tonight. So yeah, and they talked about the baby starting malnutrition. So yeah, exactly. So
yeah, that was a good part too.
Mrs. or your Muslim uncle, do y'all have any other big points? I know Hungry's got other points that and other notes. So, I mean, we can hit the points Hungry wants to if y'all want to, because I think I've pretty much hit everything that.
No. Wait. Hold on. Mrs. is at limited time. I don't know about your Muslim
No, you go
uncle's
ahead
time.
because I'm actually sitting here working on Friday's show that we're talking. So if you
multitasking,
go ahead, Hungry. She's going to work on Saturday and Sunday too.
But she does a better job at multitasking than I do. She can talk.
Well, first off, just so people understand, because I will be honest, most people in the United States and Britain do not know the differences in Goji and his formation, his physiognomy, his anatomy. I sent you something in the DM. Can you put that picture up, please, Mr. Dadman? I sent it like an hour ago.
Well, it's in my
He
Twitter.
DM'd you on Twitter. Yeah.
Okay, give me a second. Twitter. I've got to be careful, because if I'm not careful, I'm going to show stuff I don't mean to. So give me a minute to.
Just don't present it until you have it where you need it.
Exactly. Now,
while
we
for me, difficult for you.
While we're waiting for that, your Muslim uncle. So, how many of the Japanese or Americanized Japanese Goji films have you seen?
I mean, okay, so I'm born in 75, right? Grew up in the West Coast in a Bay Area type of place.
Bob Wilkins, Creature Features. Yes.
Yeah, so I mean, they would come on. There were just like blocks where they would just show like a month, or maybe it was a few weeks. It felt like a month of just like Godzilla, Gojira films, and so I've seen a lot of the Americanized ones. I can't get to my Twitter because I'm doing this through my phone.
No, that's fine.
So I have a picture of the ones that I picked up from Amazon, where I got some of the Japanese ones and then some of the Americanized ones. So I don't know, honestly. And then someone also said on HBO Max they had them too, and I've been starting to watch them there too. So I couldn't honestly tell you.
I'm sorry. I just to explain to you, I didn't mean to put you on the spot.
No, it's fine.
When it comes to Goji, I am to Goji the way that Clobby is to the Fantastic Four. All right.
Yeah, I hear it, dude. I'm loving it.
So
you should change your icon, bro.
I know. But if you look at these physical formations that Dadman has generously provided to us, you can see that the body and the head and the anatomy of Goji changes very dramatically throughout the years.
Yeah.
Very dramatically throughout the years. And it is all in respect to what Toho thought the audience would want versus what we suffer all the time today, which is the audience means nothing. We will give you what we think you should want.
Hey, Brandon, the anime guy's here. Hey, Brandon, good to see you.
Hey, Brandon.
We're spoiling tonight,
dude,
just so that you know.
I love his stuff, man.
Yeah, I actually had me on a few weeks ago.
I don't get to see him as much as I want to.
Oh, he had me on a few weeks. Well, he had a Christmas thing, but then also a while back he had me on a regular show, and we talked about.
I missed your show on there.
We talked about Gotcha Man and some Panzer chicks and Panzers, which I need to go back and watch that show.
I just posted about Gotcha Man on X. So like,
I got the whole series.
Yeah, I posted it saying, what anime do you think had a better outro song than intro? And that was my pick, because that
Girls
that
on
outro
Panzer.
is a
Thank
banger.
You. And I do want to watch that. It's just I've been busy with stuff, but Brandon, I talked to Pat, and I'm gonna get them to watch that with the missus, and if you want me on to talk about it sometime, I'd love to be there because I tell you, I love that, and of course I need to go back and watch The Real Gotcha Man because I've balanced. But no, Seven's Arc 7. Oh my gosh. Yes. I didn't even like that as a kid.
But if you guys are going to make fun of chicks and panzers, then I have to do a little song. Springtime for Hitler in Germany.
Oh gosh.
I love the producers. I love that film. Both versions. Nathan Lane is fantastic.
But remember, you always got to be careful of names and stuff, Unfortunately,
I'm kidding.
No,
you're getting everything shut down.
Dude, it is a Nathan Lane gay comedy. YouTube will not shut it down. It will not shut it down. Okay, they can't. No, they can't. They can't shut down a Nathan Lane comedy. Come on.
You never know these days, but hey, we got 11 people watching us, 10 on the YouTube side. Thank y'all. Follow me on Twitch. Make sure you hit that like, hit that subscribe button on the. We're only 2 away from 540 now. Vote in the poll. We've only got like 23 likes, so it's like we get more votes, but we're 24 likes now. 20, but it's like 22 votes now. 4 boxes of popcorn for 68% of the people. 3 boxes, 14%, tied with 1 or 0 at 14% and 2 at 5%. So, and like I said before, I'd really like to hear from the 1 and 0 people. People, if you did not like this movie, I'd really like to hear from you. But go ahead, Hungry.
But no, I want to know.
Good night, Brandon. Thanks for stopping by.
For the missus, before she has to go, and
she's got no time. She'll tell you when she has to go. So, just keep throwing it.
But I would like to know what the missus' favorite Godzilla film is, and what the favorite Godzilla film is for your Muslim uncle.
Okay, I can answer that real easy because I don't remember it. I remember them, but I don't remember any of them. So I have to say Godzilla -1.
Okay.
Because that really is the only one that I know the name of.
Okay.
Honestly, I like I say, I watched. If they were on late at night, and I had to sneak out to watch them because we had one television, and in the evening it was my dad's. And so if I wanted to watch anything after 9:00, I had to sneak out because that's when everyone went to bed. And so I didn't watch I couldn't watch a lot of stuff. We were thrown out of the house and told to play outside.
I remember that. Yeah.
And my mom literally would throw us out of the house and lock the door and say, we had 4 acres of land. It's not like we had a little plot of land. She said, come back when the street lights come on.
Mrs. My mom would say, get out and get some sunlight. And that was it.
Yep.
That was it.
Yeah. So we didn't watch, we had television. We didn't watch a lot of television. So I've watched them, but I don't know names of them.
Understood.
Just enjoyed them. So I honestly, for right now, this one is it. But I do know where to get the old ones, and I'm going to watch them, and I will have a better answer later for you.
We'll have another talk later.
Collection number 1.
No, your Muslim uncle. What about you?
So I was going through my collection. And as a kid, I think I really loved like Godzilla on Monster Island. Like the more monsters, the better. Like him fighting everyone. I freaking loved that. That was like the best. As I got older, I do appreciate like, just Godzilla versus Gigan. I really, I really appreciate, this Shin Godzilla has to be now is my current favorite because it just really,
right on.
Yes. And I'd like to see, like Mrs. was saying, I would like them to do another one like this where, they can have the parallel one where, Godzilla's, fighting on, top of an aircraft carrier, against, the, freaking, whatever, you know what I mean? They can do that fun, spectacular Hollywood stuff, but I would like some more of this director's kind of like, modernizing of it to keep it alive. And then I want him to bring in Ultraman because they've never been together, and
Ultraman! Oh my God, I love Ultraman.
Ultraman Godzilla, bro. When?
There is a Shin Ultraman. Do you know?
Yeah, I got it, bro. As soon as those brothers talked about it, as soon as Clubby and them talked about it, bro. Mm-hmm.
Clubby's never gonna watch it. No,
it doesn't matter. I'm gonna watch it.
I love it. I love Shin Ultraman, and I am in the minority in regards to that. But see,
can I ask a question?
Yes?
When you said like Shin Godzilla and Shin Ultraman,
yes.
What's that mean? I mean, what does Shin mean?
Okay, so Shin in Japanese means in general God or ultimate.
Okay.
And so when they do that with a franchise, it generally means something new. So Shin Gojira was something new. Shin Ultraman was an extension of what the original Ultraman in 1966 was meant to be.
Okay.
And also, Mrs., you probably don't know this. I know the Dadman doesn't know this. This Ultraman was created by the guy who did the special effects for the original Godzilla films.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so there's an interconnection. But the story for Shin Ultraman is actually, and your Muslim uncle can back me up on this if he chooses to. He can back me up. It was a deeper story and it was more intense, but it did not get in the way of the monster fights. It did not. Mm-hmm. And that's why it is very special to me, because it is a modernization, but it is not demonizing the story. It is not making it smaller for the sake of a modern audience.
Right. And I would even add to that, I know it's not live action genre, but the Space Battleship Yamato or Star Blazers 2021 and it was 1999 and 2021 or 2201. The ones they did are like that as well. Like they honor the original. They even honor the original soundtrack, oh my God, that original soundtrack is so 70s and so great. Mm-hmm. And but then they bring it to a more modern audience. They cleaned up some of the sci-fi. They explain stuff that they just kind of left in the original show. And I feel like, Shin Ultraman did this, this Gojira -1, it's same thing. Yeah. We're getting a lot, unlike here in America, we're getting good things out of Japan that honor the original and still, make it so that, younger people would be interested in, which, it's like, come on, guys, like, take some notes. This is how to do it.
That's a good point. This is a good point. And I want you to go on. I'm just giving you a point to go on with. Japan has never underestimated the intelligence of the child. Never.
Right.
Yes. You know how I can attest to that? Some of these building sets I have, they say 6+. There's no way a 6-year-old can do that. I'm sorry, but they're made in Japan. I mean, they're made in China. Sorry, you said Japan, but in China, they they think their kids are geniuses because they think they can do some of these builds.
Yeah.
And there's
Oh, Mrs. Snow, you okay?
Yeah.
There's no way.
Are you coughing on a peanut?
That's why you shouldn't eat on the street.
I am.
Oh my gosh.
I just want to wait until she clears because that's sorry. I know.
No, you go on. You go on, Uncle.
Okay.
I'm okay.
Yes. I mean, yeah. So look, this is what I talk about when I talk about like growing up and watching cartoons and watching anime. Like I grew up with G.I. Joe and Transformers, where people got bullets bounced off you, or your plane got shot down, or you got brought back to life. And then I watched Robotech and Star Blazers, where people died. You fell in love with characters and they died, and war had a real cost, and it was amazing. And I was like 9 years old, man. It was like, I mean, the reality is, if you are, training your society about things, you should, not have the children be completely in the dark, or at least,
Correct.
try to show them the reality of war, of life.
I think we as Americans greatly underestimate our children.
What do you mean we, Kimasabi?
Well, now.
I'm kidding, Mrs.
I'm
kidding.
saying we as a collective American.
We as Americans and the kangaroo.
The combat wombat, if you please, but that's okay.
Well, folks, there we go. That was, I think, pretty much it for us for the movie tonight. Like I said,
you got 12 minutes. You got 12 minutes till we hit 3 hours. You know you got to do that for the algorithm.
Well,
let's get back to the movie let's get back to the movie for final thoughts with movie. Yeah. Let's make sure we cover up the movie tonight with the remaining time. I'm not much of an anime guy, so y'all are speaking a language outside of my strength.
You
so
poor dude.
But anything else with this movie that we have not hit on to any of y'all?
Mrs., you go first.
Well, just the technicality of it, the music that they used, the cinematography that they used, the costuming, the sets, everything. There was no, there was nothing that jarred you by inconsistency.
Yes, you're totally immersed. They kept you immersed. Agreed.
And and it wasn't like you went. I mean, the bike that he rode, the goggles, none of that. You went, oh, well, that's odd, So it just kept you into the movie. The Godzilla, the character fit perfectly in with the style of it. It didn't look like it was one of those horrible CGI things, someone said that it was an animatronic. Was it, it was like a puppet, or was it CGI?
No. It was CGI. It
was amazingly done. I will say that, because to me, I went, that doesn't look like CGI. It actually, like I said, there were times I actually could felt like there was somebody in a suit, done very well, but it didn't give that CGI feeling. So even the special effects were amazing in it. The acting, on par. There was nothing that I really felt wrong with this movie, except, like you said, maybe if it had some more Godzilla, because it is, by the way, named Godzilla. But without sacrificing any of the other stuff, just add 20 more minutes to the movie. So I liked it. I would, like I said, I'd tell anybody to go see it, even if you're not a Godzilla fan. I think they would like it.
So let me ask you guys real quick. I'm going to go ahead and close the poll in a few seconds. I'm going to go ahead and close the poll now. Actually, we got 23 votes, 24 likes. It's funny that we start getting more votes. We didn't get as many more likes, but we'll go ahead and close it now.
It was my fault. I'm sorry.
Oh, it's okay. Well, we've got it at 69% of the people voted out of 23 votes. Voted at 4 stars. 3 and 1/0 tied at 13%, and 2 stars got 4%. So, and like I said before, I'd really like to know from the 1, 0, and 2 stars what parts people had problems with this movie. I'll say it. I honestly thought it was a 4-star movie. It is the best movie I've seen all year. I mean, Cocaine Bear was great. The Mario movie was awesome, but this one really did it all around, and especially spoke to the history nerd in me. So, Mrs., what would you rate this at?
Well, as I said, the last show, it is my number 1 movie this year. This Mario. I think did I say? Well, I can't remember what I said was third, but yeah, this is I say this was the best movie I saw this year.
Yep. Would say 4 stars for popcorns?
Oh yeah. But
Okay.
yeah, I voted. I
Okay.
voted for.
Okay. Your Muslim uncle. How many boxes of popcorn would you give this one?
I give it 4 boxes of popcorn and a nachos.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. Dang. Double down, added more to it.
No, we lost Muslim. No.
Oh, no.
Oh, maybe he'll come back.
He'll come back. Well,
Come
Hungry
back,
Boy,
Muslim.
Hungry Boy, you take this one. How many popcorn of how many?
Okay, so we have a maximum 4 popcorn, right?
Correct.
I give it 4, even though I have complaints with the film, but I still give it 4. Absolutely 4.
Okay, absolutely. Your Muslim uncle. Hey, welcome back. How many boxes of popcorn do you give on this one?
I get 4. I get 4.
Yay!
Yeah, the total. I really, really, really enjoyed this film. You guys were totally right about the human aspect. I appreciated that because it offset, Godzilla. Godzilla is Godzilla, and then you saw how it affects the humans. Which, when he's battling other monsters, you don't care. You know what I mean? When you're destroying, where these people live, it brings a different point home, and I really appreciated that. And still, you're cheering on the death of Godzilla and still loving Godzilla, man. It's just like you're like, he'll be back, man. He'll be back.
But well, actually, there's a reason he'll be back, or they want him to be back at the end of the film, where we have one of the pieces of Godzilla floating down through the water, and it starts rebuilding, like we saw after he was shot in the mouth. It starts rebuilding. Now that leads us to a question. Does one piece rebuild, or do all pieces rebuild? Are we facing a Godzilla army in the sequel that is implied?
Also, there was the thing in the lady's neck, in the mom's neck, how she survived. Yes.
Did you guys watch till the very end of the movie?
Yeah, I did.
Where you heard the Godzilla roaring and the noises? I was like, okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, they are intending a sequel. They're intending a sequel.
Like, how did she survive? Maybe that thing in her neck was, I'm
maybe
really
that
curious.
kept her alive. Yeah, because I'm sorry, I don't care if it's a movie. You don't survive. You don't survive a sonic blast.
No, I mean, and also that was the point of that scene. That was like, no way in hell she was going to survive that. I mean,
what was that tattoo? What was that thing in her neck? I didn't understand what that was.
Exactly. That's the.
There's no explanation. It is implied. It is implied. But there's no explanation.
Did you notice that it wasn't stationary? It moved.
No.
That's the thing. It was like fluid.
But that was one of the things, and I think the missus understands this, and I know your Muslim uncle understands this. When we saw the percussion blast that came from Godzilla's breath in Ginzu, okay, and we have all these blocks of masonry from destroyed buildings hit Noriko. There's no way she could survive that. There's no way.
Yes, no.
She's gonna end up being the transit to something.
No, he made real rice milk out of her. I mean, that was.
She's gonna be something. There's something that's going on there. I can't wait.
Well, Kronos, good to see you tonight. Yes, we had a good Christmas tonight. So hey,
Santa.
Yep. Yes, so. Oh no!
Oh, the fridge.
What is the deal between Godzilla and Blue Oyster Cult? This is the second time I've seen Blue Oyster.
You have not heard that song?
No,
you've not heard that song. Okay, just look up Blue Oyster Cult Godzilla on YouTube. You'll get the song. It's great. It's fantastic.
Oh God, Hungry. What if they re-release that in a green print? Oh my God!
Oh, do it. Yes,
I would buy that.
Oh, you're talking my language, your Muslim uncle. Talking my language. Oh, okay, Mrs. Say something new.
I have nothing new to say. I'm busy. I just realized I didn't have my directions scanned for my show to my bill tomorrow. So I'm sitting here scanning while you're talking.
Well, I will say this, and I think your Muslim uncle will understand what I mean. I would love to have some of the classic Godzilla antagonists come back in the same way that Gojira came back in this film for the follow-up to this film. But I don't want them to just be the old hat go-to villains like Ghidorah. I love Ghidorah, but we've seen him too much. I would like actually another fight between Godzilla and Anguirus. Or
I like the Hydra
Kumonga.
monster. I like the multi-headed one.
That's Ghidorah.
King Ghidorah,
yeah.
King Ghidorah. But also Kumonga, the giant spider, nearly took Godzilla out in Son of Godzilla. Nearly took him out. That's a very powerful spider monster. And
yes,
coming from the land of koalas and wombats, I know about powerful
yes,
spider
you do.
monsters.
I've seen those. My God. It's like the whole, just put a step aside and their whole area is covered in spider webs, and you're just like, no.
It's true. I mean, I actually, because it would get rid of the rats, and I stress rats, okay, a large mammalian, a spider that was bigger than my male hand, and that spider would take them out, and no problem. So Kumonga, which is the spider monster, the spider kaiju that was introduced in Son of Godzilla, I think he deserves a comeback. He deserves it because everybody is scared of spiders except for me.
Yep. And we know that Australia is the land of everything trying to kill you. So,
hey, screw you. Yeah. I'm kidding, West Kegel.
Megatron want to see Godzilla fight Mecha Godzilla made out of refrigerators.
Okay.
All right. Well, that's
I can
cool.
work with that.
All right. Well, folks, I think we're going to know
where he gets the refrigerator thing from.
Yeah, Raiders of the Lost. Not Raiders, but the stupid the Aliens movie. The fourth one that should. The fourth one, the one that we used to say
Kingdom of the Crystal Skulls. Yes, everybody bitches about that movie, but it does have charming moments. It has charming moments, dude. It has
moments. That's about it. Movements. Moving to Pittsburgh. Yeah, I like Aussie girls. I like Kylie Minogue, but some Australian guy doesn't like Kylie Minogue.
No, she's horrible. She's horrible. I love her, but she's horrible. No.
Well, we got 10 people hanging out with us still. We're going to go ahead and wrap it up here, guys.
Yeah,
we've hit the 3-hour mark. Mrs., thank you for staying on so not long tonight.
You're welcome.
Glad you got stuff done.
Thank you, Mrs. Thank you.
Hungry Boy, always good, as a pleasure, as always on the late night.
It was a joy. Thank you.
And your Muslim uncle, definitely good to have you on again and to get to hear your voice.
Yes.
And
now awesome to be with you guys. And
now that I know you're behind us and not 5 hours ahead of us in England, I don't feel so bad about keeping you up.
Yep.
Well, I'm going to bed. I'm tired. I'll leave it to these three to keep
Kronos.
Going.
No, Kronos. No.
Yeah. Well, I did a 4.5 hour stream earlier with the Axis and Allies.
Yeah, you did.
And that thing was amazing. The people kept coming and they stayed watching that game. Honestly, looking at some of the best shows I've had, the show and tell I did with Axis and Allies, the games when I played with Ramblin' Canuck have been some of the most viewed, even after the fact, videos that I've had. It's been amazing, and I can't wait to. I'm going to finish this game up someday soon because it was like, holy hell! Anyway, it was crazy. So hey, I think Miss Kegel's talking about aircraft carriers. Yeah, this stream was over 3 hours. The one earlier was over 4 hours. So it just started with a chill chat. I did Ticket to Ride, and then Axis and Allies is a 3-day board game that actually it comes out. So actually check my playlist if you don't know anything about Axis and Allies. I have a video.
This is awesome.
I have a show and tell of the actual board games, the original and the anniversary special edition one, where they included Italy as a separate power. And
dude, I'm gonna look that one up. What about the individual date ones? Do you have those one like 1941, 1942? They have
like Guadalcanal.
Awesome.
They have some specific links. No, I don't have those. I just have the.
And I think you can put those all together, which would be like mind blowing.
No, our house is not big enough. No, no.
Well, I mean, I'll just send it. Give me your address. I'll just send it.
No. Literally, when they put the boards up that they have, they take. Let me just say, we only have 900 square foot in our total house, maybe a little more. But when you start playing that game, you have no space, none whatsoever.
Yeah, it takes up the whole living room.
It takes up the whole living room. It is insane.
Well, with that, folks, thank you to everybody that's here. Make sure you tune into the Mrs. Show in the morning at 9 a.m. Mrs., if you want to go ahead and put your link to that again one more time there while I'm going to plug myself out of the way of the door here.
Promote
folks,
yourself. I hate that. I hate it. Please don't.
Like earlier, we had a chill chat or something where I played a game. You know, sometimes I do this and I go babbling on myself on my own. Join us for those. A lot of what we're going to be doing for a while will be random. Really don't have any other planned schedules for a while. Fortnite will be random and all. Probably not tomorrow since the missus has a build at noon tomorrow. But
I'm working on it. I am working on it.
Follow me on Twitter and you'll see. Make sure on YouTube you got the notifications. I'm trying to do this late night with Dadman and friends every night this week. So make plans to hopefully join me tonight. Not tonight. Yeah, I guess it is technically tomorrow, so it is tonight. We're going to try to do another one of these tonight, usually 11:30, maybe midnight, depending on what time people are available. The topics may vary. We did not squirrel a lot tonight because we really came out to talk about this movie, but we did, but usually we bounce around all the places. One time we covered 30 topics in one night. So join us for some fun with that. Also, live streams on YouTube and Twitch at Dadman Walking 55. Hit the notifications there. You know, follow on Twitch, subscribe on the YouTube side. We're almost getting to 550 subs now. We got to keep moving and keep on.
Don't sub to him. Sub to me so I can beat him.
Yes, exactly. only like Rambling Canuck says, the Battle of 2024. I wish I had that big. I don't have the video pulled up, but I will another time. I don't have Chrome running. So also follow me on Dadman Walking 55 on X or Twitter. And with that, folks,
you're awesome, chat. You're just so awesome.
You guys
were. You guys rock.
You guys were great tonight in Acts and Allies, and definitely tonight. You guys, I couldn't keep up with you at some point. This is Mrs. Link for 9 a.m. in the morning. Start your day off with something positive, something different. Catch your show in the morning. Yeah, there is a game of Axis and Allies. So,
hey, Kronos, don't advertise a new channel. Don't advertise that other channel on this channel. I'm just kidding you, Kronos. I'm kidding you. It's a joke. It's a joke.
Anybody have a good night, and we will catch you guys later. All 10 of y'all. Bye, all.